are they? We are.
It has been done.
We're here.
We're right here. What do you mean, where are they? We're only 5 minutes behind schedule, which for us is actually early.
It's good.
Yeah.
Not shabby at all.
We would just all been, racist and sexist behind the scenes. We have to get it all out of the way first. We meet up beforehand and we get all the M words done, and then we go live. And then they're like, we're not going to do it again.
Get them out.
Everyone does it. So Open Bar does it, FNT does it, EFAP does it. This is the secret behind live streaming, is that you have to get all the racism out of your system first.
You got to get it out.
Exactly. But hello, everybody. Hello, panel. Hello, chat. We are back for another week. With some stuff happening. Snow White is right around the corner.
Sure is.
Like heart disease or a stroke or something. So it's going to arrive with us. I think it's the end of this week, isn't it? On Friday?
I get to go see it at 2:00 on Thursday. And oh boy, am I excited.
Oh, you get the early access for Snow
Indeed. White. Yeah. Even in this shitty small town I now live in, they have an early 2:00 show, and I almost guarantee I'll be the only one in that theater.
This movie's had like 1,000 controversies. I can't even keep track of all of them.
I know, it's like a new one every week. It's pretty impressive.
It's interesting.
Speaking of Snow White, I guess we can just start right off with this piece of shit. So this was a controversy that stirred last week. Disney did not invite basically anyone to the Hollywood premiere. I thought it was the UK premiere that they did that for.
So did I, but they've expanded. But I think they've given like a different excuse each time, because the UK one, the story that was reported was that they feared that alt-right racist backlash or whatever the fuck it was for people storming the Snow White premiere. But then they've expanded that to, also the American one as well. And from what I understand, they've sent Rachel Zegler off around Europe to sing songs while Gal Gadot does all of the interviews, which is
just
a tactic.
Is she really that toxic at this point? Like,
it seems that way.
Well, imagine if someone said the controversy is you. You are that radioactive to this film.
What did you say? The Disney Studios Twitter account, was it yesterday or the day before, stuck out like a promotional tweet for the movie, and it's like a picture or like a video of Rachel Zegler, but she's not speaking. And the Disney Studios tweet reads, "No words, just Rachel Zegler," which is just like in 4 years, she's so bad that in 4 years she has made Disney go from girl boss, yay, girl boss forever, to women seen and not heard. Like they have just gone right back in time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, she's ruined it. She's ruined it for all of them. Like the Little Mermaid chick, for people who have whatever issues with that movie, I don't remember her having any controversy. She kind of came in, did her thing, and left.
Really true.
Rachel just doesn't know how to close her mouth, and she's just ruined it. And like, yeah,
you know what she should do? She should come out in full Hannibal Lecter costume with the big mask over,
the orange jumpsuit and everything. Oh my god,
that would be ideal. The biggest controversy with Halle Bailey was just how far apart her eyes were.
The fish eyes, but she was a sweetie, so like, you can look past that. But she's got that weird, eye gap, but like without the proper personality to back it up. Like everything I've seen from this chick, she just seems like an immature asshole and thrown into a position she didn't earn.
How does she get this level of arrogance? Because she's been in nothing but flop after flop. She's box office poison, and yet she acts like she's fucking Tom Cruise.
Yeah, because she was discovered by Spielberg, and everyone thought that she was going to be like the next big thing or something.
And based off of what? Just her singing ability? I think that's what.
Yeah, because he threw her into a flop, for fuck's sake. Yeah. Like it was West Side Story,
It's these hand-picked actresses and actors. It's just it's worse than nepotism, because it's like for at least with nepotism, we know there may potentially be some talent in your blood that you can harness. Hopefully, maybe not. But with this, it's kind of like the chick who's picked for the Acolyte. Wasn't she just handpicked by Leslie Headland when she hadn't even really done anything?
Leslie Headland is a lesbian, is she not?
No. But she picked
a really creepy one where she had said like she had designed the character with the actress in mind. Like this is the actress she dreamt about in the role.
Based off what? You know what I mean?
Based off of how gargantuan her breasts are.
That's pretty much it.
That's
When
where
you
I was
say that you
going with
dreamt
this.
her into this role rather than proper casting and like, it's fucking disgusting, man. That's not what I want to see.
Oh,
But
But
like,
yeah,
it's
this-
interesting. No, sorry.
oh no, go ahead, Reaper. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying it's very interesting how, as Platoon said, it went from girl boss to nobody wants this film to come out. Not Disney, not well, we do because it's funny, but no normal person wants to watch this movie. And it's strange how much times have changed in what, about 2-3 years, where you can't get away with like race swap girl bosses. Like they've really fallen out of favor recently.
It's the casual audience being much more aware of it now. You can get away with
Mm.
that narrative before and just call everyone racist, sexist, and you can do it, no problem. But people, they've screwed up. They've flew too close to the sun. Like they've like pushed it to a point where most people can see it's just nonsense. Like from the diversity, the people that they swap out just for diversity hires, like we're gonna talk about probably with Daredevil. Like it really annoys me seeing the scenes with whoever these two people are, because I know that should just be Foggy and Karen,
Yeah,
and
we'll
it's
get
gotten
to
the
that. 'Cause
point.
I just wrapped up episode 3.
Frustration.
And yeah, I was thinking
So
the
did I.
exact same thing,
That
man.
literally annoyed the hell out of me. Probably the exact same scene we're thinking about. I'm like, why are you here? I would
Yeah.
be so much more invested in this if this was the crew, but it's Snape. I don't even like Harry Potter, but I'm offended for the Snape fans because he has a particular
Yeah.
look.
I mean, I
that-
think at that
we
point,
can Adam
they're
Driver over
not,
here who's born to be Snape. Why waste it?
they're absolutely not done with like the era of race or gender swapping or anything like that. But Zegler does prove that there is a limit to how egregiously off-putting you can be. Like the studios have no problem, making Snape black or something like that, and they'll probably try and tank the hit that will do amongst a certain section of their fan base. But the thing is, nobody likes Rachel Zegler. Absolutely nobody. She offends everyone. Every time she opens
Even
her
her
mouth,
mother.
she offends another half of the world. Even her fucking mother, probably. Yes.
Bad for now.
And she's just like reeling off a long list of like the audience that she will just piss off to no end, and no one will go and see the movie. So like race swapping is fine, but just don't be a shitty human being. And if you are a shitty human being, keep your goddamn mouth shut and keep it private. But it's too late. It's all out. It's all on record. She's done it for years and years and years at this point. There's no getting away from it. I
That's
am
part of the
genuinely
reason-
interested to see what it does to the box office. Like, will people remember? Did that cut through to a general audience? Has the silence campaign worked? It'll be interesting to watch.
That's a good point, man. Like it's not as simple as just race swapping them. It's what you do and how you handle it and the attitude you take. And I think that's why I think it's important to point out the good examples. Like I think Morgan Freeman, he was supposed to be white in the books for Shawshank Redemption, but they cast Morgan Freeman specifically for his acting. And like I think that was a good choice. I don't know if there's people complaining about it back then, but if you're doing it for creative reasons, it's fine. But if you're just doing it for the diversity points, it fails every fucking time. It's so frustrating.
Yeah,
Like,
and they still are
the,
acting like being the first Latina fucking princess or something is like a huge deal. And it's just so blatantly a political move when you're framing it exactly as it is. It's just like, oh, we're doing this so that Latina women can be seen. And it's like, what the fuck? So you really aren't hiring for any purpose other than the color of their skin.
And why do you think they need a handicap? I would feel so frustrated if someone told me like, I don't give a fuck about your resume or your talent, but you're black and we need a black dude. It would be like, okay, like that's just, it's gross. And you compare that to someone, I was trying to remember his name, Corlys Velaryon from House of the Dragon. He's an actor he's a character who was supposed to be white, but they cast him as black in the show. And him being black actually affects the plot because it's explicit that his grandkids aren't his kids, which is very important to how the plot dynamic works out. So it actually was a benefit to the story, and they had that in mind. Like there's ways you can go work around this, but if you're doing it just for diversity purposes, it usually just fails.
I think race swapping in general is a terrible idea. I said before, like when what's face Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption, that works because most people don't actually know the source material.
Exactly.
Most people unfamiliar, so you can get away with it. Most of the time, you shouldn't do it, and you can. And people always use in-universe reasons to justify it, but you can always change the in-universe reason to facilitate the change. Like Robin Hood. He's no longer Robin, from fucking Loxley from in England. He's some black girl in Canada in the hood.
Rapping in the hood. I'm so
You
ashamed that that's a Canadian product. You fucking idiots. Why would they do
Well,
that?
that's the thing, because you can never really use the in-universe excuse, because it like I said before, you can always just change the rules. Like the problem is when like Game of Thrones introduced you can maybe get away with one family, but now it never just stops there. Like
Yeah.
you're seeing black maesters, you're seeing black people on the street and Asians and stuff like that. And then you go, well, in season 8, when they see all the Dothraki and they're like, ooh, you go, well, there's diversity everywhere. It naturally undermines the world. I know some people like it, but I always think it's always a terrible idea to race swap.
That's why I like those two examples, because like you said, they don't majorly affect the plot. Not a lot of people, like Morgan Freeman being black, him being black wasn't particular to his character. You know what I mean? Like you can't, if you make Mulan black, you fundamentally change the story because she's not Chinese now. It's like you need to be aware of these things when you're doing it. And that's why I think you can get away with it if you're doing it for creative reasons, but for the most part, just avoid it because as a complication, it's not necessary.
Well, that's the thing. There's no excuse why Static Shock is a black kid. You can just change him to an Asian one.
That's actually, I can't believe you referenced Static Shock. You're like the first human being I've ever seen a reference. I thought I was the only one on the planet who watched Static Shock. Yeah.
Well, that's the type. Like, there's no reason. I mean, you can always change it. That's the thing. So you should just avoid it. I mean, as Morgan Freeman, it's an obscure piece. You can get away with race swapping minor characters to most people. But even then, the fans don't like it. You know, the book fans probably didn't like that. They agree he's a good actor. But, you know, you're best just avoiding the whole thing. And
guarantee there would have been book fans that were pissed about that. And just to add to your point, if there was a Static Shock live action and he wasn't black, I'd actually be annoyed because I'm like, what the hell? Like, we had one version of this character, at least do it correctly. Like, I would like to see him properly cast.
So would I.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone on this panel remembers the 1997 Spawn movie, but
come on.
All right, good. I was hoping so. There was even pushback back then because, like you guys were saying, fans do not want their characters changed. It has nothing to do with racism or anything like that. It is just they want their characters to be as much like the original as possible. So in the Spawn movie in 97, they actually changed Terry Fitzgerald, who was a supporting character, from black to white. And they did it specifically because they thought it was going to affect the box office to have an all-black cast. And no one gave a shit about that. They cared that they actually changed the character to white because it's not the character. So this kind of pushback dates all the way back. Like, that's the first time I remember. I was like 10 years old and be like, why the fuck is Terry white?
But the voice isn't as loud back then, you know, with social media and all this madness. Everyone, you're going to hear all the reactions and the rage. But I feel like no matter what age it was, you're gonna have those hardcores that were pissed off. They just don't have as loud of a voice. And yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough thing to deal with overall. But people do pick and choose when it bothers them and when it doesn't. So that's why I always feel like just do it for creative reasons and then you're safe.
Go ahead, Reaper.
Well, back to this, I was saying for the Snow White thing, Peter Dinklage doesn't get the hate he deserves for what he did to this movie, and
he really did fuck it even more.
He fucked everything up for those. Oh man, what a bad.
Like, I like the way all dwarves want to kick the shit out of him because he cost them like fucking. One thing I googled before this: one of the animated dwarves is voiced by a dwarf. You know, why don't you just fucking cast him?
It's so stupid. He went from being the king of the dwarves to like the complete outcast. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And I bet you the voice acting dwarf got paid less for the voice role than he would have done had he been in the actual movie as an actor as well. Which is weird because it's not even a cost-saving method though, because you would imagine it cost them a huge amount to actually create these hideous creatures and animate them the entire time. So they probably still spent more money than they would have if they'd actually hired the dwarves.
Exactly.
When you go so woke that you're like 180 and end up with your head up your own ass because they spent all that extra money to try not to offend the dwarf community.
They're thinking about offending people more than they're thinking about their own budget and the logic of their own project. That's what drives me nuts. Like, can we get back to having some confidence in your creative project and not being worried about offending A, B, C, D? Like, someone will be offended no matter what you do. If you film a paper bag floating across the fucking highway, someone will be offended by that. It's just the way it is online.
I saw American Beauty. That was pretentious.
I was even thinking about that, but no, I fucking love that movie. You know, I saw that in theaters when I was 8.
Holy shit! What the
Yeah,
fuck?
like that's
What is wrong with your parents?
I know my mom and my aunt, like they didn't give a shit. They're like, they're not watching our crap. But that's my movie that I reference for like everyone says, oh, they watch Predator. This, like, yeah, please. American Beauty, that'll fuck you up way more.
Yeah, well, my God.
Like, whoa, adults are crazy. My God.
Why is she? Does anyone know why she's called Snow White?
Oh, is it in the new version?
Yeah.
It's because she was born in a snowstorm or something, so they named her after the weather outside, which is just kind of lucky then that she wasn't just, born in a grey drizzle or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I know.
Just like
Swampy wetness.
mild damp.
Just name you based off the weather.
Oh, what a
where does she
terrible...
rank in terms of the casting for all these Disney movies? Because I haven't paid attention to a lot of them. I feel like the Beauty and the Beast was the only one that didn't get any real controversy.
Well, for the sheer damage she's done, I mean, she's got to be way, way, way at the bottom. And also the fact that, yeah, they had to change the entire backstory for her origin and the origin of her name because of who they cast. And the fact that she doesn't look sexy as Lord Farquaad. I don't know why they chose to give her that haircut, but they kept it. So I think just probably at the bottom, right? I can't think of another recent Disney quote unquote live action casting which was as disastrous as this was.
Yeah. Well, Mulan is going to be hard to top that in terms of personally pissing me off. This will probably just be something I laugh at, but yeah, she was pretty terrible as well. But nobody blamed the actress for that. They just thought the movie was garbage.
We do have some related super chats here. Our friend Gemai Shah says, Sean Connery said, an open-handed slap is justified if all other alternatives fail. If a woman is a bitch or hysterical, a bloody-minded continually, then I'd do it. Someone needs to tell Zegler.
I love that interview where he doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't give a fuck at all. No.
Because you hit a woman? He goes, well, I wouldn't hit her, but, sometimes you give him the word and it's not enough, so a slap is required. Oh, he's amazing.
Bonesaw is ready. He says, Snow White is a triumph for the half Latina, half hammerhead shark community. Also, fuck Daredevil for ruining Kingpin for yet a third time.
Seriously, man. What are they doing?
Well, there's a thing. For some reason, it's an American thing where Latinas, whatever we call them, Latinx, their population is the second highest in America, yet there's like 3 actors. There's Pedro Pascal, who's in everything. What's Rachel Zegler, and occasionally Danny Trejo whenever they drag him out of retirement.
Yeah, you're right. There's not that many.
But
they're the second largest population.
Wait, who's that guy that's like in all the Ant-Man movies and is really annoying?
Oh, that dude, that guy.
He's that guy.
That guy. I know who you're talking about, but
what about Salma Hayek?
I feel like we're missing a bunch of names here.
Yeah, we're missing a bunch. Antonio Banderas. What's going on?
Yeah, maybe you know what? Maybe for modern actors, but if we go back to the 90s, I'm sure this list will be longer.
But they're never at the same time. Like Antonio Banderas was popular, and then he went away for a bit, and then Michael Pena comes in. You can never have too many at the same time.
You can only have one at a time, and Pedro's taking up all the slots.
He's taking up all of it.
There would be more if we could just get Pedro to chill out, calm down. You don't have to take every fucking role. And I think Reaper, I think you were the one who actually said this, but I've thought this for a while now too, of like casting him because he's white passing, but he can get the diversity points as well. So you just get it all with Pedro.
That's what I thought when they cast him as Mr. Fantastic.
It's cynical, but true. You can't say, "Oh, it's a bunch of white people." Hey, Pedro, he doesn't count.
Hey, and his name's literally Pedro.
Yeah, oh yeah, because that's what they have to do. I think if Platoon, you'll probably remember this. Jurassic World Dominion. Do you remember the? pilot?
I wish I didn't remember it, but yes, I do.
The pilot, the black chick that they just stapled onto the cast to make sure it wasn't an all-white cast.
Oh, was that diverse Han Solo?
Oh my god, man!
I remember the one.
Pretty much. She's one of the best examples of a staple diversity hire just stitched into the plot, so it's not an entirely white cast. And diversity to them means non-white. Like it's complete nonsense, and it's gotten to a point where most people can see it now. So that's why, like you said earlier, it's not as effective.
Now the chat's killing it with these names.
That's like 90s though. I feel if you go back to the 90s, this list would be longer. But in terms of modern actors and actresses, not that many.
Toivo Korhonen says Zegler can't help it. With a mouth that big, it's hard to keep it shut.
It gave her that role. She used it to get the role.
But could it be a case like Brie Larson, where she just ran her mouth at the wrong time, and now years later she's probably regretting it, but her career is just never going to be able to recover?
I think
her
Brie Larson
career
was
has nothing
sensible
to
enough
recover
realize.
from.
Yes.
Ooh,
She's
Zegler?
never had a successful fucking movie.
That's why I think Brie has potential for a comeback. Like if she just, all we need is base Brie, like a year full of interesting interviews and like one good performance. And I feel like
Well, she already has sort of rode back her old public persona, and like she has been in a few roles where she's quite clearly capable of acting, and then in the last few years, she's either been quite standoffish in interviews or she's deliberately shut down lines of questioning which are inviting her to like put her foot in her mouth again. I don't think Zegler A has the talent or B the self-awareness to know that she's fucked up. I think that she thinks it's everybody else's fault if this doesn't go well, not her fault. So she doesn't need to change.
That's probably the biggest difference between those two, just self-awareness. Brie has probably learned from it and is trying to adjust, but it might be a bit too late. But at least she has the talent to do something with it. Where this chick, you're just doomed, man. You don't.
Is it age?
What she's gonna
Because Brie was older when she started. Well, at least older than Zegler when she started
for sure.
Push back. Yeah,
it's got to be maturity. Like understand, like Platoon said, self-awareness. It's not always the easiest thing. So I feel like someone like Brie is gonna be able to realize that quicker than someone like Rachel, who
even Keanu Reeves has awareness, because when Me Too was happening, Keanu kept hover-handing his audience.
The hover hand, bro. The hover hand. That's how you keep it clean.
Even a nice guy like him was aware of the consequences. He was smart enough, because that's the thing. Keanu Reeves is nice, but he was smart enough to go, you ain't Me Too and me.
Not getting my ass. Not ruining my clean image.
Well, she doesn't have that. She has no one around her giving her good advice, like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I think Disney's been telling her to shut the fuck up.
Lately. They had to do that interview with Halle Bailey where they're both trying to just blame the fans and like you just pretty much have Halle Bailey's aura rub off on her, and I feel like that didn't really work.
It seems like someone who just can't help herself. Like she can have guidance, but then her real self just bursts out and fucks the whole.
So she can't act like a good person.
Well, she can't because she's not one. But also, her personal brand, I think, is not being one. That's another difference with actors of the generation and of the origin of Rachel Zegler have even massively generationally different than actors like Brie Larson are, because Zegler is picked up on the back of like this YouTube channel in which everyone always tells her how great she is, and she's built up a particular small but very loyal core audience who are there because of her, not necessarily because of what she brings to a particular role. And so she probably somewhere in her own mind has always got this on the back of that very small mind that she has. This is my core audience. They've always told me everything I say to them is correct, and they will support me. So I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing against everybody else because these are my people. Whereas like more conventional actors don't have that kind of personal brand until they've become a success in Hollywood. Brie Larson, I don't think, had a personal brand before she became a good actor, whereas Zegler was a personal brand first. So
the only other person is Zendaya, who had a massive following before becoming an actor. And Rachel Zegler is more talented than Zendaya, but Zendaya is smart enough to know not to respond to all the backlash. Like she's the worst thing to do.
Definitely sharper. She's played her cards way better than this chick. I agree. She's not even that talented. Yeah, I think she looks like a 12-year-old, and I don't get anything from her acting. It's just she's just there.
Well, there was there's an article that came out. I think it was Ethan Hawke was talking about getting actors in, and the casting directors now actually go by what your following is. And I think Brie Larson actually escaped that. She might have been like one of the last people to get in based on merit, or at least, she was the best for the role or whatever. And someone like Zegler already had a following. So like people are casting now based on how many Instagram followers you have, not necessarily your talent. Like that's secondary.
In multiple industries. I've seen that enter MMA, like in the UFC. A lot of people will try to get
Kimbo Slice.
No, not even Kimbo, but people who they don't really have the fights under their belt or the credentials or the history, but they have a big fan base. So they want it to go based off that. But you need both. It's not about just your Instagram subscribers. You need to be a good fighter as well, right? It goes hand in hand. Like if you are an elite fighter and you have a huge fan base or a country behind you, then they will push you to the moon. But you do need both. Otherwise, it's just, and people like this don't understand that. They think just being around their yes men is enough. And I think that's the benefit we have as YouTubers. Like the comment section can give you some good criticism here and there, even if it's a douchebag. Yeah, sometimes it's like, you know what, you're a dick, but I'll take that little piece of advice right there. It's useful.
So some early reviews are out for Snow White. This was the one I thought was most interesting. So allow me to read it for you guys. The biggest surprise of 2025 is that the most controversial and most hated film of the year is actually a decent live-action remake. Snow White is not only one of their best live-action remakes in years, but it's also a film that recaptures the magic of the 1937 movie. Rachel Zegler is Snow White, and she delivers such a magical performance. The musical numbers are unforgettable. The visuals, not the uncanny dwarves, are enchanting. So isn't that the majority of the movie, the fucking dwarf?
It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, for fuck's sake.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what the fuck? And Aaron Cressida's Wilson's screenplay provides depth to this world that I didn't know was needed. Well then, it couldn't possibly be that some of the few shills that were actually invited to the premiere are dropping positive reviews, much like what happened with Captain America 4 last month.
Because I thought there was a general review embargo out on this movie. Like I thought, like most reviews, if not all reviews, were not allowed out until like the day before it released. But like, if they are allowing some out, and they are all basically like this, which
all
they
positive.
might not be, but I imagine they are.
Then
yeah, I wonder if it's a bit of reputation management building going on there. But then I've never heard of fucking popped news. So
right, and there's a fucking review embargo that lifts on Thursday because the movie's so high quality, you can totally trust the early reviews, just like with Captain America 4. It's such bullshit. I hate this manufactured push that they do before these obvious bombs and terrible films come out. This has been happening a lot, a long time. But with this movie, it's so obvious this is going to be a piece of shit. So I don't even know why you're bothering. Like you're showing us what you actually think of the movie, which is that it's trash because you don't have a premiere, or it's behind closed doors at minimum. You have a review embargo that lifts like 12 hours before it debuts in theaters. But then you also just send out some of these people to be like, it's actually fucking magical. Rachel Zegler is Snow White.
I like the way they got dude bros. Yeah, Snow White's the shit, man.
Fucking good movie, dude. Fucking banger, dude.
Instead of girls, they got a bunch of roided up dudes.
I don't know.
But this film has been
project. No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, this film began principal photography on March 2022. So this has had 3 years of development.
Holy shit. I was going to say, I feel like this movie's been in development for like 5 years. Like it's taken so long because I just remember talking about it like once a year. And I don't know. How did they manage these projects like that? Like even Ironheart is another one. Wakanda Forever. How long ago was that now? And Ironheart's coming out
2022.
She's in a different phase of her life, that actress, when Ironheart actually comes out. Like it's such a strange.
She's like a mother now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2 kids and like that's what happened with Echo. Echo was fat during the show because she'd given birth, and that's part of the reason. Like she looked like a fucking chungo. In Hawkeye she was pretty slim, but you could see she had baby fat in her own show. I'm like, how is this fatty beating up a whole host? Oh, it's just so stupid. Yeah, Kingpin got
wasn't Ironheart already finished, and they've just kind of had it done?
Yeah, they've been sitting on that one for a while, trying to find like the least embarrassing part of the year in which to release it. I think like when can we possibly get it out when no one will pay attention?
We all will.
That's my Snow White. Like no one's looking forward to Ironheart more than me. Like for something about Riri Williams annoys me at my like deep in my soul. Like
because even she's a bad character from Inception. Like, and she doesn't even have a good comic book origin. Yeah. She is just a terrible fucking character.
There's never been a good version of Riri. That's shocking when you actually look into it.
Mm-hmm.
And the role, like in Wakanda Forever, was just embarrassing as well. Besides the fact that the suit was one of the worst looking things I've seen put out from Marvel, and that's saying something these days. But like her role is just, oh, I'm a genius and really, really special. I can do things that Tony Stark couldn't do. I can, in my high school science project, come up with a device that detects vibranium deposits in a way that no government anywhere in the world has ever been able to do ever. And I did it just off the bat. Why the fuck not?
It reminds me of Dark Fate when they tried to replace John Connor with female Mexican John Connor and just rush all his traits, show us that she's responsible and she's a good leader right from the bat. When we saw John have to actually learn these things and go through him being a dick and like all the lessons he learned from interacting with the T-800, like it's such a better story. And then they just rush it and they don't even know what made the character work in the first place. And what drives me nuts about Riri in particular is out of all the shitty casted Disney, like the Cassie and Ant-Man, America Chavez, Riri Williams isn't a terrible actress. She had a couple, there's 2 scenes in particular where I thought she was okay. And I think with good direction, she could do better than some of them. And one of the easiest fix they could have had for that movie is, remember when Bucky and Cap in Civil War were making their escape and Cap had to like cover for Bucky to make sure none of the soldiers died. They also did it in Daredevil, where Daredevil was hitting the gun out of Punisher's hand. So you're kind of having someone with a no-kill rule working with someone who's willing to kill and having to like work around that. Why didn't they do that with Riri and the Wakandans instead of having her blow up cops in her own city? We could have seen Riri.
Yeah, she was like, "Yeah, let's blow up cops," and they were like, "Yeah, let's blow up cops."
Nice one, Riri. She literally, nice one, Riri. It's you've ruined it. You destroyed her character in that scene.
Yeah, well, you had 2 psychopathic characters working together.
Yes, but that's why I think it could have worked. Where if Riri, if the same asshole introduction, but we at least get to see she's a good person because she's stopping these crazy Wakandans from killing everyone in their city. I think that would have improved her character and improved that scene tremendously. But instead, we got a nice one, Riri. It's bullshit.
Do you remember the trailer where he goes, "Even good people steal," and you go, "No, they don't really."
Well, you know what? You know what someone might say? Well, it happened in the comics. And we totally forget the fact that Riri was created during the most woke period of comic books ever. Yeah. As if like adapting something automatically means it's good. It's like maybe you're adapting a really shitty fucking character.
Yeah, how about this? How about this? Maybe the comic was shit too. This idea that source material is automatically golden. It's not how
every
it works.
Comic book is just perfect and ready for adaptation.
Ugh. What Viserys Targaryen, who was the highlight of season 1 of House of the Dragon, was a very basic and shit character almost in the books. The adaptation improved him tremendously. There's many examples of this. Like, people need to calm down and treat it for what it is.
Yeah, he's just a bit of a fat moron in the book, but then it's like a very condensed history. So most of his characterization is invented, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah.
So you're right, but then the other side of that is as well is like, which source material do you pick to adapt in the first place? And I think it's kind of an embarrassment that we even get Riri Williams or Ms. Marvel when you've got like 60 years worth of comic characters people actually like that have never been on TV yet, and they're already proven to be successful. But we skip them so we could somehow get off the topic of Snow White and bitch about them instead.
And stories that haven't even been explored. Iron Man, they haven't scratched the surface of Iron Man. There's so much more they could do. The Demon in a Bottle arc could have been something that's so enjoyable to watch, him dealing with his alcoholism and trying to maintain his company and maintain his sanity. But they had to sanitize and make everything soft and worry about the merchandise and all that crap. And the MCU is where we're at now because of that.
Yeah.
I hate it. It's frustrating.
We got Riri Williams before the X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh, me. Yes, we did.
It sucks.
God.
Sucks, man.
When you point,
who the fuck thought that was a good idea?
Well, I still blame part of this. I think they would have fast forwarded and introduced the X-Men if not for those contracts that run out next year. So as far as I know, because this was a report from a long time ago, but it seems to hold true, they couldn't recast anybody until 2026 because of whatever the contract stated that the actors signed for X-Men from the Fox universe. Like, that's why it's totally okay to have Hugh Jackman in, because he's still Wolverine. but you can't really have anyone else. And the only other people that have been introduced are fucking CGI, like Beast was introduced in the Marvels.
Why did they do that? The fact that we've had 2 on-screen versions of Beast. One was CGI dog shit in the Marvels, and one was fantastic in X-Men 3 with
Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah.
He's like top 10, top 20 for
Yeah,
me
he's
in
awesome.
terms of he looked fantastic as Beast. I just wish he was a little bit more buff, but he's one of the more underrated casting jobs. And yeah, it sucks because if they screw up X-Men, it's over. Because I argue like X-Men as much or more than Marvel itself. It's like it was my favorite thing growing up.
There's a couple more super chats related to Zegler, so we'll get those taken care of here. Taker610 says, or asks, what if she was born during hail? Frozen balls? And Jefferson C. Post. So Zegler is the Hollywood version of DSP.
Not sure what she caught. Masturbating on
Very
stream.
more likable.
Little
I don't
easier
know.
on
She
the
hasn't
eyes.
been caught on camera jacking
Yeah,
off, has she?
that's what I'm saying. Has she been rubbing one off on stream? Like, I don't know. He's a bit worse.
Mark Kelly, if they are naming the character after weather, thank God it wasn't Frozen Rain. Hail White.
I can see that because
terrible, man.
isn't Zegler as a surname is German, isn't it? Like, there's something about people being from South America with German surnames. It's just a little bit of a historical anomaly.
What is their family history? I'm actually going to check.
I'm kind of interested now. Yeah,
I'm curious.
It's the most interesting thing if she has a Nazi granddad.
All right.
Those dwarves, man. I'm looking at that picture. They look so fucking terrible. Why would they go with that over casting dwarves? It's a terrible idea.
They are atrocious looking.
The magical creatures, is that what they're calling them or something?
Oh yeah, they don't even like call them that. They don't even call them dwarves.
From what I remember, they're not allowed to call them dwarves because dwarves is offensive. Like, to fucking who?
Amazing.
Magical creatures.
To Peter Dinklage specifically.
I don't want to ask Peter Dinklage. Would you rather be called a fucking magical creature or a dwarf? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
Sounds a little condescending to call him a magical creature.
That's why I was wondering, did he ever respond to the backlash from that comment? Did he ever follow up on it? Did he ever say, okay, this is what I meant? Like, that's one I feel like he could have just sat down and clarified and fixed and then worked to get those guys other roles. Like, I really hope he fixes that reputation or at least that mistake, because I do like Peter Dinklage.
I mean, let's not forget he was just on a podcast and just saying whatever was on his mind at the second. So you have every right to just be like, well, I was just talking out my ass and I didn't really think through that. But he never did that. He just kind of stuck to his guns about it.
That's what I'm saying. If it was just something he said briefly on a podcast randomly, that's fine. But the repercussions he should be aware of, and if he really cares,
But you gotta think, he said something on a podcast, and Disney went, "We're gonna spend millions and millions of dollars changing everything because of some podcast clip."
Yeah, that's what's so fucking crazy about it. It was just on the shitty ass Mark Maron podcast. Imagine Mark Maron having that kind of impact, millions and millions of dollars worth of impact.
I just wish they weren't so like intimidated just by one slight comment and you're going to change your entire project. Like, have some confidence in your
offensive.
Yeah, jeez, man. People are going to be offended. It's not the end of the world. Just believe in your project, and I don't know.
Just shows too that like they don't give a fuck because obviously just casting a Latina in for a character called Snow fucking White, whereas her skin is as white as snow, is probably going to offend some people, but they don't give a fuck about offending those people at all.
No, they pick.
Well, the film is intentionally made to pander to those people. That's why they reacted so much, because otherwise you wouldn't have casted Rachel Zegler in it. So that's probably why they were so like overboard when Peter Dinklage said something.
Yeah, they push it to the extreme and I feel like they treat it like social media is the entire world, where most people don't know about that or care. They're just like, oh, it's a Disney adaptation. Maybe we'll check it out for the kids. and focus on that. Focus on what you could have done to make this the best movie possible. But when I look at that and I see these disgusting magical creatures surrounding this idiot in a yellow dress, like, what were you thinking? You know what I mean? You could have had a wholesome, great adaptation here for something that most of the populace is aware of. But
There's
I
so
just
many
like
other
how
things you could have done. Like, you didn't need to make them CGI monstrosities, weren't they?
No.
Is it Snow White and the Huntsman when it's like it's normal? I say normal actors as though dwarfs aren't normal, but you know what I mean. They had normal sized actors playing the roles of dwarves, and they just shrunk them, which is what they also did for The Hobbit. And in any movie where hobbits have appeared, it tends to be normal sized actors. Although even Peter Jackson used dwarfs for like certain distant shots and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many ways you can do it. If you don't want to have actual dwarves on screen in main important roles for some inexplicable reason, you can still have them human-like, not this. But they went with this instead.
How far are we going to take it? Like, there's the shot in the thing where they replace the guy who gets his arms bitten off with someone who actually is missing his arms, so you can make it immersive as possible, right? Imagine we get to a point where, like, no, we can't have that because it's going to be offensive to people who are missing arms, so we need to fucking CGI it or some shit. Like, they could push it any way they want, you know? I just wish we'd get back to a point where not everyone was offended by everything under the sun. It's so frustrating.
Well, I'll tell you what is offensive, guys. And so far, it's Daredevil.
Oh, God.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Bored again. Bored.
Yeah, that was the first thing out of my mouth after I finished episode 3 was like, that wasn't very good. And I was bored.
The very first thing I want to say is Matt was a good fucking lawyer. Who is this donkey like that they've replaced him with? He's a fucking...
I was fucking bitching about that after the episode. I was like, they just got the result that the script needed to happen. Nothing that fucking happened in that courtroom suggests they were going to win that case. They just fucking did because the script needed it to. He's a fucking terrible lawyer.
It sucks because, like, I'm not a fucking law expert, but I've watched enough court shit to know that you guys are cheating left and right. You can't have a whole court case layout in like a week. Like, Kingpin became mayor, it felt like 48 hours. This whole court case felt like less than a week. They're just rushing through everything, so we don't even know what the fuck is going on. And I want someone to sit me down and explain to me everything that was wrong, like in terms of the protocol and all the things that you can't just pull out witnesses out of your ass. You can't just suddenly introduce that he's everything about it was stupid. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm not shocked that Disney's Daredevil would be crap, but it's just frustrating to see how boring it is in addition to that.
Like, how stupid is the judge where he goes, Your Honor, you can't introduce the fact that he is the white tiger because that would establish that he likes to go out looking for fights. And you go, well, that's the entire point of the case.
He really fucking relevant.
For a fight.
How do you not have that set up before? It's so stupid. You can't just bring that out, man. And how is just pulling out a mask definitive proof that he's the white tiger? All of it was like written by a 12-year-old.
Yeah, which he found just under his bed because he sent his mate around to rummage through his apartment.
He bought it at Walmart on his way here. He's like, "Here, Your Honor." It's so stupid.
You don't even need to be an expert in the legal side of things. I know enough about the legal side of things to know, like, what you just said, that you can't just summon up like random brand new evidence without first sharing it with the other side and all the rest of that. But you don't even need to be an expert to spot that scene or that succession of scenes to get the outcome they want requires every single character to flip completely in the space of 5 minutes and just not acknowledge it. You have the district attorney who starts off by saying, we must have it known that the guy is the white tiger because it's relevant to the case. And Murdoch's like, no, it's not. It would be prejudicial, so don't do it. And the judge says, yep, you're right. It would be prejudicial, so we don't. And then 5 minutes later, Matt turns around and says, we need everyone to know. And here it is. Here's the mask. And then the district attorney who wanted to build his case off of it said, how dare you? That's not relevant to the case. And the judge says, well, I think that it isn't. So it's utterly incompetent stuff. And that's one of the, I mean, it's a fairly chunky thing if you actually like the legal drama side of the original Daredevil run, which I do. But it's not, I wouldn't even say the biggest issue in Daredevil Daredevil Born Again so far. I mean, there are plenty of the issues which are bigger or at least as important as this. Every single character is basically being assassinated, some of them literally, and the rest of them figuratively. No one so far is anything like what they were when we left them with the Netflix show.
How do you feel about Chocolate Karen and Foggy?
Chocolate Karen.
That's pretty much it. That's what they're there for. Like I really liked Foggy. I think everybody talks about the Daredevil Punisher scene. That's one of the best superhero scenes in existence. One of the most underrated scenes is the conversation with Matt and Foggy when he finds out that he's Daredevil, and you have to realize that he's been lying to him for years, and you're recontextualizing their entire friendship. And it's fucking phenomenal character work. They dedicated the entire episode to it. And to kill that guy off and replace him with someone, I don't even remember his fucking name. Like I can't,
Cherry is his name. Cherry.
Yeah.
Maybe
Got a stripper name.
Paul, Doug. Like I have no idea. It could be anything. I just don't care. They're there, and it's not earned. The idea that this Kirsten chick, I don't even remember her name because of how much she annoys me. I don't like the way she talks down to Matt, forced him on the date. Like, just you're not in a position to be arguing with Matt Murdock. I don't even know who the hell you are. And the scene in episode 3, Cynic, like you said, that should have been Foggy and Karen. They're just replacing those two roles completely.
And another huge issue I have too is just Kingpin's entire motivation regarding vigilantes. Like, dude, we live in a fucking world where vigilantes, we already went through this with Civil War, through Infinity War and Endgame, and it ended with vigilantes saving the fucking universe. No one is going to fucking buy this shit about vigilantes being bad. Nobody.
They forgot, Cynic. That's the part you're missing. They just completely forgot. I don't know. The Accords is meaningless in this world now. It's like the most important decision they ever fucking made in the cinematic universe in terms of balancing it, and they've ignored it ever since. It's so fucking frustrating how much the Accords is ignored. And like you said, the Avengers have saved this fucking planet over and over again. This doesn't make sense.
Right, we already had this on a massive fucking worldwide political scale in Civil War, where like the entire world was aware because the Avengers were split up. So who gives a shit about like no one's gonna think Daredevil, who's protecting their their small pocket of New York City, is gonna be a bad guy. Like no one's gonna buy this.
And like you also like obviously Captain America 4 is out around the same time, and these are now technically part of the same universe. In that movie, Ross wants to reform the Avengers because he thinks having them on side is good for him. Even in the context of the Daredevil show, it doesn't add up because on the one hand, you've got Kingpin, who has run and become mayor with over 50% of the vote. There's more than 2 candidates running, so that's a pretty chunky majority that he's got there. And his shtick is vigilantes are bad. But then 2 minutes later in a court scene, you're hearing how it's incredibly important that we must let everyone know that the guy's a vigilante because then they'll all love him. But if that's the case, then how did Kingpin, who doesn't like the vigilantes, get elected saying that vigilantes are bad?
It's so stupid. It's a complete mistake.
Dumb.
It's so dumb. They just fucked up. There's no other answer.
Even the vigilantes, like the police don't like them, yet they support the Punisher, their own vigilante.
Yeah. And then you could do something with that, but you'd have to actually account for it. This is all taking place in the year that we skip because they couldn't be bothered to write it. And so like the year leading up to the point at which this show starts is the year that could have been used to actually explain what's going on here. Like we went over it on EFAP, like some of the ways you could have a story like this with these kinds of ideas and this kind of argument play out. One of the ideas there was like, if Kingpin is, as he's got a past history of doing, using effectively like false flag vigilantes in order to tarnish the name of vigilantes, drawing a distinction between mere vigilantes and the Avengers, or arguing that they should all be registered in order that he can control them because they're a loose cannon. Like all sorts of things you could do to make this kind of work, and they did none of them. Instead, they've just got 2 completely contradictory ideas on the screen at the same time.
That could have been amazing to see over the year, in addition to seeing the fallout with Matt and Karen. I wouldn't mind Karen being out of the show if we actually got to see that, how Foggy's death affected their relationship, her dealing with the fact that Matt practically killed the dude, and just going through all of that could have been so juicy for those two. But no, we just boop her out of the show and we skip a whole year. It reminded me of the Endgame skip of just like my jaw dropping in the theater of like 5 years later. Are you fucking kidding me? Like I don't get to see like any of the actual aftermath. You can't keep doing that, man. Something I appreciated about House of the Dragon is you can skip 3 years and I feel like I haven't missed a thing. Like it was incredible being able to keep the continuity. But these shows, in their first pilot episode, they screw it up completely. And now we're 3 episodes in and we don't know what the hell's going on in this city.
Really I found it so funny.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it feels like a Disney-fied version of the Netflix show, just through and through. By the time you get through episode 3, I was like, wow, this is really just like 100%. surface level version of that show, and they think it's going to be upticked by swearing and blood, and that makes it relevant. But
I was embarrassed when Matt pulled out the mask completely.
Yeah.
And I laughed out loud when Homeboy got shot at the end by the Punisher.
I did too. Yeah, when he gets shot.
It's like, so wait, you just put this mask on and just go out and just look and like,
just
look. I'm just gonna find something to pop. I legit was like howling. I'm like, thank you. This is the best.
This entire time, like his mode of transport as a superhero is just in his full costume walking down the street, and it's doubly hilarious as well because like just before you get there, you get the shot where he puts on the mask, and then there's the long lingering shot as he puts on the amulet that we were told in the court scene gives him extraordinary powers, and then he just gets shot in the head. Like, what the fucking good was the amulet in that case? What was the point?
Yeah, it's a piece of shit.
He must have a route too.
No, it was broken. He dropped it or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
he must have a route that he takes, like a beat, like a cop has or something, because the Punisher was just standing next to the thing of trash and shot him in the head.
They knew it, yeah. Oh my god, it's so stupid. And you have those shots of like Batman in like the alleyways, like with his gear, or Daredevil waiting and listening for an actual warning sign. But with this, he's legit just jogging and looking for trouble. It was so cheesy, man. I don't know what they're thinking.
Seeing that was like second to seeing a superhero having to take a piss and trying to remove their costume to do it, because it's like, oh, that's how you get around, is it? Okay, we shouldn't be seeing that.
When just said, Daredevil bombing is such a lie. It's one of the most successful shows on Disney Plus. I may have missed the news of the last few days that this has got like substantially fewer viewers than Agatha.
Yeah,
and the Acolyte, which was cancelled for not getting enough views, got something like twice as many in its opening week. So you might be slightly behind the times with that one. It's not doing well. Like I'm sure there are worse performing shows on Disney Plus, but this is one of the most popular characters you could possibly be bringing into your TV universe. Someone with all the great work that's been done by a different company beforehand, bringing it in. Something that loads of people wanted to see with a really core and loyal audience. And it's underperforming Agatha, which is a sequel to WandaVision that nobody watched in the first place.
That's incredible. That should never happen. Daredevil and Agatha. This should not happen on this planet. This is a character that's one of the best characters ever, and you have so much to work with, and they've pissed it away in these 3 episodes. Like, I have no faith in the show improving.
And they pushed this. They actually had a lot of advertisements going around with this. This is quite hyped up, and it can't even beat Agatha.
That's embarrassing.
Do you think
I actually had trouble finding it when I opened the app. I was like they have the ones at the top that you can scroll through, and I couldn't find it on there. And it wasn't like Daredevil was here, but it was seasons 1 through 3. I actually had to search for it to find it. So
do you think each Marvel TV show is just slowly killing the franchise? Because when you have like Moon Knight, and I think they just need to put it back in the theaters.
When we finally get an Andor, like a Marvel series that's actually like well done, no one's gonna care. Just like no one cared with Andor. It's just too late.
Well, I mean, you might see like a slight uptick. This is the other thing which I think is not going to count in favor of this show, is that something like Andor, which begins from a very low base but is quite quickly recognized for being something of high quality, gains viewers over time. This show isn't going to gain viewers over time. This show is going to lose viewers over time. The first episode wasn't even supposed to be the first episode. They added that in to try and drum up more interest because the planned start was already known to be quite unpopular. So that was the stuff they thought would get you hooked, and it didn't work. And now it's just going downhill. We're at the point where Matt Murdock has basically just got another vigilante killed. And I would not be surprised if it is not addressed meaningfully in any subsequent episode. Because it's only by revealing his true identity in the court case that people know who the White Tiger is, and that's what gets him shot in the head. Now, I'm sure it will come up again, but the writing quality of this thing is such that I don't think it's going to be acknowledged in the way that it really should be. You might get a few lines mentioning it, or it'll be folded into part of a larger mystery, which isn't particularly interesting, as opposed to him really grappling with the moral consequences of his actions, something that the Netflix version would have done, because that show was quite good.
They would have dedicated the first 10 minutes of the next episode to seeing Matt wrap his head around what he did and the consequences of it. They would take it seriously.
They didn't give a fuck about dealing with Foggy's death. There's no way they're going to deal with some fucking random guy that he's spent a month with.
Yep.
Yeah, like when he's talking about opening a bottle after winning a case, which he used to do with Foggy. It's just a passing mention. He doesn't have like a moment where he's sad or he's reminiscing.
Reaper, he said it's hard to talk about, and then they
It's
moved on.
fucking bullshit. He made a face like showing that like it's a hard thing for him to talk about, like you said, but we need that moment. The lady even said, "You haven't mentioned anything about him." Like it's bullshit. It's like they were teasing us with the scene we should have gotten with that scene. Instead, he's just drinking with this chick. We needed to have that moment of him breaking down, and even the fact that they've removed all the church scenes, that scene at the end where he's in the court case, doesn't that seem like that should have been him in the church? Like, do you remember the one I'm talking about where he's just there standing? We got all those shots throughout the first 2 seasons of him in the church, but we can't have it now for some reason. They've like removed that element of the show, like the entire Catholic element.
Well, the thing is, what's interesting is you have Kingpin, who owns the law, who can change it on a whim. You have the Punisher, who completely skirts the law and causes anarchy. Then you can literally have Matt, who's Christian, talk about God's law and like how some rules can't be bent and broken. Like you could have interesting like observations on it, on morality, but they don't do anything with it. It's just a fucking retarded courtroom scene. Then once again, Vanessa says to Kingpin, "You're mad about you're mad because I'm fucking Adam." And he goes, "No, I'm not funny."
Did you notice she gave him the like? Oh, he said, "Oh, let's not get to the point where I don't trust you." And then she gives him the fucking look, and he's like, Did you notice that? I don't know why they're going out of their way to make him like as soft and like pathetic as possible, but like he's intimidated by her now.
Also, like what does she have to do to make him not trust her? Like she's banging some other guy.
He's such a
she's running his crime cartel against his wishes. Like surely that relationship is already broken down.
And you would think they would go through that, but they're just treating it like I don't know. They're botching all his scenes.
Well, that's the lasting consequence of the Echo show, though, is because that they've removed like his deep, dark, sinister backstory, like the psychological reason for his character being the way it is. We don't really know who Cuckpin is at this point, so it's fine that he kind of reacts like this because he might not even be the same person. Because that Kingpin, you could do so many really fascinating things with if he still had those memories and if he was still traumatized by beating his dad who was beating his mother to death, and now coming up against this woman who's kind of in the role of his mother and he's in the role of his father. Like really fascinating shit you could do, but they got rid of it by fucking Native American mind rape, so now we can't do that.
She just legit, for anyone who hasn't seen Echo, that is a pretty good description. Native American mind rape. Just cleanse him of all his issues and then send him on to the next show. When that version of Kingpin is so interesting, we have this loser now to deal with.
He's still breaking the law as he threatened the police chief's kid. So then he has like scratches on his knuckles in this episode, which implies he's been beating people up. But then he's going to Vanessa, "No, don't control the crime or the gangs. We're past that. When you're committing crimes yourself."
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're cooking up with him. Like they keep hinting at the knuckles and whatnot, but do you think this is going to be a payoff that's going to fix it?
No, I think they just wanted to draw a parallel because Matt's knuckles were. That was it. There was nothing more to it.
I think you might genuinely be right. Like, because the question obviously is, well, who or what has he been punching and when, and why haven't we seen it? But when you see it in juxtaposition, you kind of get the sense that the juxtaposition is the point. Like, he's got bruised knuckles because they wanted to do a really artful little, oh my god, look, we're not so different, you and I.
If they're that stupid enough to not even explain why, it'd be like, why would they keep zooming into it? It's got to be the Atom guy. Why they keep? What else could it be, right? He's got her lover, and he's holding him hostage.
He said he would never touch him. He went, "I'm a different man. I don't care if my wife has sex with other people."
I think they have to work around the Echo fuckery, but still want to get the old Kingpin back. And they know that you can't go from how we saw him in Echo to the way he should be. And maybe they're building up to that in some way, but I don't know.
I just want Echo to pop up in this show and give him the trauma back at this point.
Just put it back in.
So it's like a reverse Dementor, like Harry Potter. She sucks it back into him.
Yeah, man, we need the old Kingpin back. It's so boring. Anytime I see him, Vanessa on screen, my eyes just glaze over.
Well, we're gonna waste time with the Punisher subplot now.
Where I was gonna say,
guy who's sorry.
I was just gonna ask, like, who's who sent the Punisher, because it's like implied that the Kingpin had something to do with it.
Him, though, is it?
Yeah, it's not going to be. Yeah, it's going to be a coincidence.
Although this show is broken enough that it might be him. But
well, that would be boring
it
as fuck.
shouldn't be him.
It doesn't make any sense.
Has it made
Punisher
sense so
kills
far?
criminals.
Why would we expect it to make sense like in the future
Yeah.
episodes? Like, I just have no faith. No faith. Like this was the episode they needed to get things cooking and like at least regain some type of quality. But other than the performances, I don't really have anything to compliment at all.
Mm.
It doesn't feel like it has one overarching story. It just kind of feels like, well, this is this chunk. This is the Punisher section. This is the White Tiger section. This is Kingpin being a cook section.
I wonder if
I don't think it really has a goal.
I wonder if the White Tiger section just got cut short because the actor fucking died.
Yeah, I thought
Really?
that might be the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
He died?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
had
he died.
cancer while he was filming these
Wow.
scenes. Yeah.
I was gonna say I actually didn't. I liked his performance. I just wish this was written better.
Yeah, it looked like a painful performance. I actually think it,
That was probably part of it.
Yeah.
And it might
Was it
explain
the
why his
script
end
or
was so
cancer?
comically abrupt and abridged, and why like his
Yeah.
final scenes in that. Obviously, you never actually see his face because from the minute the mask goes on, I don't think you don't see his face.
Oh, that
anyway.
makes it even
And you
worse. It's
see him once he's in the
embarrassing.
suit, and he might not even have been there for that. And it does feel like the kind of thing that they would do because they couldn't do what they planned to do with him. There's also the other side, which I understand, that isn't the White Tiger supposed to be like the first Marvel like Latino superhero man or something like that? Isn't he supposed to be quite a big character in the
Yeah.
and so for that relatively ignominious end, which you wouldn't get if it was the first, say, black superhero or something, might suggest again, yeah, they were massively interrupted by a bit of the older death.
Ray Stevenson in Ahsoka, we knew watching that this was basically going to be his last shot because he died, and they gave him like a really nice shot, like on a mountain looking down. And it was like, you know what, this works as like a final shot for Ray Stevenson. You're telling me that this guy got that embarrassing mess where he just gets booped by the Punisher? Like,
Yep.
that's stupid, man. Like, that is embarrassing.
Yeah, look how they treated Chadwick Boseman, who died of cancer.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Honored him, and this guy, they're like, just
watching-
shoot him in the fucking head. I don't know, get rid of him.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
Well, in other Marvel news, guys, Captain America star Anthony Mackie spoke out on fatherhood and masculinity. And this was actually a pretty interesting quote. So I figured I'd throw it in here today. In the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities. He's raising his sons to be young men who are respectful, responsible, and protective of their family. I keep my boys humble. They've never owned a pair of Jordans. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. We are men. If I'm not there to protect, he's got to be there to protect. Apparently, he's caught some flack for this. And I think this is, he's been in a really shitty movie lately, but this seems pretty fucking
Death
right.
of American masculinity. This is a guy, they pointed this out on FNT, but this is a guy who plays Captain America who, per the director, has the superpower of empathy. Like, he's not exactly the most masculine version of the character ever. And then he goes on, Anthony Mackie, after this in the same interview to start talking about, like, yeah, success is not earned. Working hard and you'll achieve success. That's a lie. Success is just given to you.
Idiot.
Which I think counteracts basically all of the seemingly nice stuff he's saying in this clip here, because he's like, yeah, you should be masculine, young men, be independent, but also, like, there's no point really working hard and trying because it's all about who you know and not what you do. So working hard and meritocracy is a myth.
He keeps contradicting himself. Like, this
yeah.
is the second time now, like in the other interview. Like saying, the heroes I saw growing up, I liked them because of this. It wasn't about being black. And then 2 seconds later, he's saying it's important for them to see a black Captain America for all the young kids. And it's like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. And this is him
this
doing
what
it
the
again.
Gen Z kids call code switching?
I don't know. I feel like he's got like an earpiece where it's like he's got to fucking go to this other script because everything he says in the second part, like Platoon said, ruins this whole part. Like, I do like this quote here.
Yeah.
But then he goes off the fucking rails talking about, success and there's such a better way of phrasing
the same
that.
interview.
He screwed it up. Yeah. That's why I was wondering if you had the whole thing.
It's on a
He goes from
podcast that's
this-
run by a bunch of like the African American sports people. I think they all are. So there's a degree of speaking to your known audience because, like, yeah, of course, like African American sports people are probably going to be big on masculinity and then the attack on masculinity in particularly black households and stuff like that. Like, that's a knowing your audience kind of thing. It's of interest to his audience, but it's also quite a common belief amongst men who don't think they've been given what they are owed, that the system has conspired against them. So those two beliefs, which don't really logically go hand in hand, are nevertheless held by a lot of people. Like masculinity is under attack, but also what's the point in being particularly masculine if the world doesn't give me what I'm owed, basically. It's a contradictory message, which is a shame, because if he just stuck with the masculinity part, I think he was onto something there.
Yeah, that's why I grabbed this quote. I didn't realize they were from the same interview. God damn.
Yeah.
Because, a broken clock is right twice a day. So I was like, that's not bad.
But it's just the second part of the quote damages this entire premise he's creating here. So it's like, how do you really feel, Anthony? Like, you keep messing up these opportunities when it comes to the interviews, and you match that with his shitty movie that's out right now. This man is destroying his career with just one interview after another. I don't know what he's thinking, because we've had Sam Wilson in the MCU for like a decade without him having any real controversies, and now he's going to be mostly known for this stuff, which kind of sucks for him.
Didn't he say he took a gay role to understand his gay brother? And I went, he's not a fucking dog. You can just talk to him.
Yeah. Just have a conversation, dude.
You have to take a role to understand your brother? Like, what the hell? Is that a real quote? I've never heard that.
Yeah, it was I think it was the same interview. Because he was talking about taking all these types of roles, being a man. And he went, I took a gay role because my brother's gay. And I went, what? You couldn't just speak to him.
God damn.
Send him a text, bro.
Like, how deep does your homophobia run? You're like, I got to understand these people.
I think, though, if to steel man his argument a little bit, I think what he meant on the second part of success is given is that chance will always play a factor, because you can have several actors or hundreds of actors with the same talent you have. It's just someone in a position picked you.
But that's a part of life, though. That's something you should have actually incorporated.
I think he just worded it badly. Like, even though you can do your best, life fucks you over.
Henry Cavill exists, so we understand it's a premise is possible. You can have the talent to do great things, but not get the right opportunities. He didn't phrase that right, though. He made it seem
I think the precise argument that he made was that he was talking to all these sports people and said that like there was always someone around you who could probably throw faster or hit harder or whatever, but like you only got where you got because someone ignored those people and chose you anyway, which kind of he misses the point, and this came up on FNT as well. It misses the point, like the broader mindset question, the combinations of qualities that you have. It's not just about being able to throw really far if you're a sports person. There's a huge amount more that goes into it, which you also have to earn. You can't just be given it. If you're completely without talent or merit, then you have to end up in Hollywood. But if you're a sports person, you have to have other kinds of skills as well. It's kind of reminded me of, it was Joaquin Phoenix's character in Signs, who, he's got all of the home run records for Junior League Baseball or whatever it is, that he never made any senior team because he got struck out the most times as well, because all he knew how to do was hit it really hard. There are other things that you have also to work on. So to like pass it as, working hard equals success is a lie is not correct. He's just not understanding what working hard on a broad array of things really means.
Yeah, but his point is completely undermined by the fact that he is casted as Captain America because he's black.
Yes.
If he didn't have that, he might have made a better point.
Elephant in the room. Gigantic elephant in the room, dude.
It is like the one clip he needs, like to accompany him saying like success isn't earned, it's given, is just Cap giving him the shield at the end of Endgame.
Or him breaking Johnny Walker's arm to freaking get
just stealing the shield from the actual Captain America.
We can't just run up on a man, beat him up, and take the shield, and then that's literally what they do. Like
who didn't want it until US Agent took it, and then he went, I want the shield back. Like he's a child.
It's the worst thing about that show for me is the fact that he didn't want it for legit reasons, and it's like a little baby. Like, no, now I want it because they have my toy. It's they turn Bucky and Falcon into 6-year-old toddlers. Like it's so quickly, man. I don't know, that show, I wish I never watched it.
I think this interview was just one big stream of consciousness, because he said, I thought about it last night. So I don't think he's refined his argument. He's just spitfiring everything. Because my dad told me this, and my mum said this, and he's just saying shit.
I always find that interesting when they say, I just figured this out last night. Like, why are you saying it to the world then? Maybe we should like flesh it out this thought process a little bit.
How do you think that moment happened? He's just sleeping, and then suddenly the universe comes into his mind, and he goes, whoa!
Or he's just sitting on the toilet or something, and he's suddenly struck with his massive revelation.
He doesn't even wipe his ass or pick his trousers up. He runs out going, I know what the truth now.
It's fucking stupid, man.
Yeah, we said before, the problem is his career has countered his point. So you said before, they're fine in little chunks, but all together it doesn't work.
This coming from him like 5 years ago might have been much more effective, like Infinity War time or something. But now with this whole Black Falcon shit, it's too much, man. You are one of the best examples of unearned position.
Like Henry Cavill saying this is better because we know he's been as you said, Brooks, he's been fucked over.
Yes. Henry Cavill is one of the best examples. Michael Fassbender is another one who's way more talented than he gets any credit for. There's a whole list of people. You're not always so like this concept exists. He just botched it completely in terms of his description. You needed to redraft this whole thing.
And it doesn't help as well, like, coming off the back of, again, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which keeps coming up as an example because it is such an appalling fucking show. But this is a guy who completely agreed and was on board with the message that show concluded with, which was not work harder. It wasn't personal responsibility. It wasn't personal worth and virtue and value. It was do better, Senator. Like, all my problems can be solved by the government.
You guys have enough money just to fix all the problems.
Masculine message. You don't, if you want to like preach the values of being a man, don't ask the United Nations to help you. It's a shit thing to say. But
it was like that scene was written by 10-year-olds that don't understand how the world works. And just like, you have money, right? Make more money and just fix all our problems, right? What's the issue? And the man's trying to explain it's more complicated than that. And like I can't believe that scene because I heard about that scene a million times before actually watching it, and I watched it recently for the movie. I can't believe how fucking stupid it is. His speech at the end of that is one of the worst speeches I've ever seen.
I just on and on and on.
Ever.
He just how stupid he is. Because you have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, you know what? You're right. And that's a good thing that I'm ignorant.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but you need to do better, Senator. Like, it's incredible, man.
You need to stop calling them terrorists because they might think you're terrorists. Yeah, but they want to wipe out half of the world. They are terrorists. What else do you call them?
She blew up a building full of people, and he went, what are you doing? And she went, that's the only way they'll listen.
Crazy. And when he brings her back, he's bringing her down like an angel, a fallen angel, like she's this delicate, princess. Bitch, she's a terrorist. She's crazy. She fucking, how many people she killed. I just wish we could treat, God, just remake the last 5 years of the MCU. It's all trash, man.
Or just get rid of it.
But actually, that is a good question. Post Infinity War Endgame era, what is your favorite thing that Marvel has made?
Well, Spider-Man probably.
Yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home.
No Way Home?
Yep.
Excluding that, because it seems like everyone's go-to answer.
Excluding the only good answer.
Yes.
What are your...
yes.
To be honest, I didn't mind Shang-Chi until the very end. And Guardians 3 had its moments.
Guardians 3 did have its moments. I'm one of the few people who thought No Way Home was crap because of the Doctor Strange destruction at the beginning. I'm like, are you really? We're going to just obliterate Doctor Strange character in order to get
it's called Spider-Man, so I'll just focus on how well they treated him.
No, you have to completely ignore that he's a dumbass now. Like, it's so, there's some character and some charm there, but like overall, I haven't felt anything from the MCU in so long. It's just shocking.
I think I've forgotten more MCU shows. Like, what is it? There's Moon Knight. There's Hawkeye.
Echo,
oh god,
Agatha, Secret Invasion. You know how many people skip Secret Invasion? One of the worst shows
all of
ever
them.
Made?
Yeah.
Is that like for Secret Invasion shouldn't exist. It is one of the worst shows ever fucking made. It's so
the
bad.
Skrulls are engaging on a planet-wide war with the humans, and no one addresses it.
No, there's a million.
They control all our governments.
We have a million shape-shifting aliens on this planet, and none of the movies have the balls to address it. They're cowards. They're losers.
Like the Prime Minister of the UK is a fucking Skrull. He has access to nuclear weapons, and it's just not addressed.
It's so stupid. And Amelia Clarke is out there somewhere with a big fucking manly arm, stronger than anybody in the entire universe. She's so jacked. She's
the most powerful Avenger. She's got every power.
She's got it all. They have
She's
to
got
ignore
Hulk,
her completely. She's
Thor.
too strong. She broke the whole MCU.
You've just got this fucking Omega level mutant running around, and no one acknowledges that she exists. Who can shapeshift? She can be anyone.
She could do anything, and all the powers of anyone who's there in Endgame, pretty much all in her. That's when you've lost the plot. Like there's no way to write around that completely. So they have to just ignore
Captain
her.
Marvel as well.
Yeah, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, and Gaia. Those are 3 characters I think legitimately need to be ignored. Because what do you think you noticed about Daredevil? No, they acknowledged Echo, even though they laughed at it, they still acknowledged it. They've ignored She-Hulk pretty much from what I've noticed.
Yeah.
So far, Daredevil is still ongoing. Don't rule it out. She might come.
You know what? Yeah, I might have jinxed it. Shit. Knock on
I
wood.
think Doom is the best way of just getting rid of all these horrible characters. You just get them together and he just murders them.
That did happen in the Ultimate Universe in the comic books. It was a really disgraceful piece of shit, but they basically had a total reset where every character besides like 4 or 5 were fucking brutally murdered.
I wish Doom had actually watched their shows. He's from a dimension. He's from our reality, and he can watch their shows. And as he's murdering them, he goes to Moon Knight. This is for that shitty thing in episode 3. And chokes him.
Yeah. That would be great. Like his origin story is actually he's just a fan of the MCU who's just been watching it for the last 10 years.
I would watch that if it was
a
already
compilation of just Robert Downey Jr. sitting there watching TV and getting increasingly angry, and then he puts on a mask.
Yes,
there's a whole montage of it. That'd be great. Oh man,
Yeah.
they made that work to some degree with the Homecoming villain with Vulture. I like the idea of a villain based off the actual events of the universe, right? Like the continuity and all the aftermath of the Avengers destruction is how he got his technology. And utilizing that in some way could be fun. Like just do something interesting rather than fucking Broccoli Head from Captain America 4. Like what are they doing, man?
Did you think with that guy they thought that they were going to have the same aha, like, ooh, isn't this awesome moment that Red Skull got in Infinity War when he was there? Because it was like 8 years and no one knew what happened. And then when he was on screen, my whole theater was just like, whoa, what the fuck? He's there. And I wonder if they thought that was going to have the same thing. Like, oh, that's that guy from that movie 15 years ago that no one watched or liked.
I didn't even recognize him. Like, no.
I didn't recognize him.
Who would care? Like most people don't even remember the Incredible Hulk. First off, a lot of people didn't even watch it, or it's just one of those ones a lot of people skipped. And if you did, how many people are going to remember goofy ass Dr. Stern compared to all the other? Most people are going to remember the action scenes for that movie. That's kind of all it has to offer, really. And Edward Norton like doing a pretty decent job. But it's the most random character to bring back out of nowhere. It's like the actor for MODOK. It's between him and Stearns that are the most random people to bring back after.
Yeah, and that actor, I can never take him seriously. He's always cast as some fucking yokel, like just this goofy ass. Yeah,
I don't
poor
know.
guy. Well, speaking of Spider-Man, Sadie Sink has been cast in Spider-Man 4, and there's rumors that she will either be Jean Grey or she might be the real Mary Jane Watson.
She could do a young Jean Grey.
Yeah,
they look really young. Like
Tom
Holland doesn't seem to age, and she looks really young.
Tom Holland's gonna be 49, and they're still gonna be casting him for like the young Avengers. So, like he's just stuck for life with that.
Yeah, Sadie Sink is 22. She might be a young Jean Grey. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen her in anything since Stranger Things season 4, which would have filmed even before it, well, like a year or two before it came out. I don't even know what she looks like in 2025 or whatever.
Someone said it's an old pic.
Yeah, I thought this might be an old picture. Yeah.
Problem is, I think she has the Arya Stark problem where you're forever a kid.
Yeah.
And then it's really creepy when they do a romance scene.
Arya Stark's sex scene in season 8 is one of the worst things that's ever happened on this planet. Like we watched her; she was everyone's little sister. We watched her grow up. She's the last character we want to have a sex scene with. Arya's side boob. Like they need to, working around that is complicated with some of those actresses because they just get stuck in that role.
Millie Bobby Brown went from like a child to a 45-year-old woman in the span of 5 years. So.
But like, if she's Jean Grey, she's got to be good enough for Wolverine and Scott Summers to fight over.
True.
Yeah, they're not. Wolverine's not fighting over that toddler. That's not happening.
Yeah, I think if you get Scott and Wolverine, they're huge dudes, and you've got this tiny Jean Grey in the middle, they're gonna look like pedophiles.
And it would be particularly awkward if it's still Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, because isn't he like 50 something?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's
To
he's
be
like
fair,
6'3".
more recent photos of her, she actually looks like a partial grown. She looks like her age. She looks like she's
doesn't look 4 years
20.
old.
Yeah, she
Right.
doesn't look like she's 10.
Now I'm curious. I'm gonna check.
How
Lady
tall is
Singh.
she?
How tall is she? Let's see.
5 foot.
Oh,
5'2".
shit, yeah, you're right.
5'3".
She's 22, but at least she looks like an adult now. She looks 12 in that picture.
Yeah, she's 5'3". So yeah.
That's
Again,
again. If you have
she's
10
twice the
towels-
size of the midget in Brave New World.
Well,
then.
it doesn't matter. Tom Holland's like 5'4", so that'll
Don't
work out.
mention that little Harfoot. Oh my god, she's so creepy, man.
But I mean, are they even ready for introducing a Jean Grey though? In Spider-Man, is that where they would choose to do it? Do you think? I mean, I don't know what their plan is for introducing.
It does
the
line
X-Men
up
at
with the
this point.
contract things I was talking about, like 2026. So
Why would Jean be
do it.
introduced in Spider-Man though? That's strange.
Is it more multiverse? Do you think because No Way Home did it so
Mm.
well? Well,
yeah, No Way
kind of.
Home's the only one that did it okay.
Because they actually had purpose behind the people they brought back.
Yeah.
And there was a journey there for the characters. Like seeing the Peters interact, it was meaningful, and seeing their different stories and what they had, the lessons they had to pass on to Tom Holland Spider-Man. That's what made it work. Nobody talks about the other elements. It's the one movie where we get to ignore the multiverse bullshit because they actually cared about the characters. They're not just going through time. Like it's not bullshit. Like for anyone who saw Loki season 2, that's like that. It's between that and Doctor Strange. It's like the worst examples of multiverse shit. You're just fucking around. Like there's no through line. There's no way to follow it. It's just nonsense.
What is the plot? Does anyone know?
Of Spidey 4?
Yeah.
No idea.
No idea yet.
Will they even have finished writing it yet? Is that 2026? Is that coming out?
Yeah,
They must-
I think they start filming it this year.
I was going to
Spider-Man,
say that means they must have finished it, but that's not true.
July
They'll be
31st.
reshooting up till July 31st.
July 31st, 2026 is the release date. So, well, we
I
certainly know the special effects will be rushed. So at least there's that.
When's it release?
July. What did I just say? July 31st, 2026.
Oh, it's gonna be rushed as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like No Way Home has a lot of issues or whatever, but that was certainly on a crunch time. That how that was made as well. That had a release date they had to hit, and they did it.
Well, they knew they had a banger in terms of box office, like not in terms of quality. They knew they had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and he let those rumors run around and they knew tons of people were going to show up. This one, it's like, oh, here's Sadie Sinker's Jean Grey, and you go, okay.
Yeah, flashing Toby, the Toby key was huge, and same with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Who they have left to do that with? Like, I'm not excited to see RDJ come back.
Right, I was gonna say RDJ is it. That's the big one.
It's stupid, man. It's stupid. He for Endgame with all its problems, Tony's story was pretty much intact, and like he's dead. Leave it be. It's one of the best parts of the MCU, and thank God it was a part of that era, not this bullshit. But then we're bringing it back to. It's just, oh man, just don't do it, man. Because I experienced this with Game of Thrones. The characters who died in the early seasons, you could still really appreciate because their story is intact, and then season 8, everyone gets obliterated. I don't want to see that. I'd rather just leave those stories intact instead of just screwing it up to make another buck.
Well, speaking of Tony coming back, the Russo brothers say the upcoming Avengers films will be a new beginning for the MCU. We told an ending story with Endgame. Now we're going to tell a beginning story. So it is a full-on reboot, just as I've been saying for like 3 fucking years. That's what they're going to do. Yeah.
So how do you think they're going to do it? Do you think they are just going to kill off all the accessories? They're going to kill off all the side characters?
That's the best idea. It's the go-to.
They need to cut the budget tremendously. Like there's so many actors, there's so many characters. They need to strip this thing down and get back to the basics. So a lot of death would benefit these movies, so we can actually refresh with the characters that have potential.
Yeah.
The main one is RDJ. He's like 90 million just for him.
Yeah, it's too much, man. There's no way that's sustainable. If Chris Evans comes back, that's another one. If Chris Hemsworth isn't done with Thor, and he's, there's a lot of expensive actors and actresses here. So, but you're not going to be able to just get a bunch of cheap people and have the same, like, I don't know, man. That first Iron Man movie was like a miracle of charisma and entertainment, and the fight scenes look so clean, and you're so on board with this character and his story. It was perfect. They're not going to capture that again because they don't even know why that worked. Like, they have no idea what made Iron Man work. They don't know what they have with the MCU. That's kind of the conclusion I've come to. They've, from the Civil War being ignored in terms of the Accords, and the concept of character being like the biggest strength of this series, has been completely abandoned in the last few years. So I have no faith in them whatsoever.
Well, they did say along this quote too, they said something like the MCU basically doesn't have a narrative and it needs a through line. So that's what we are trying to create with these two movies.
That's encouraging.
That sounds terrible.
It sounds like they admitted what we all knew.
Yeah, we fucked up, y'all. Now we're trying to fix it. That's pretty much the PC version of that.
And you got to cram it into 2 movies.
So you've got, what is it, Riri Williams and Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. None of them have anything to do with setting up Doom. So in the first
Fantastic
movie,
Four in theory should.
Yeah.
It'll be like a cameo at the end, since Galactus and, what is it, John Malkovich? He's the other villain.
Yeah, is he Mole Man or something, I think?
So you've got a tiny bit on Fantastic Four. So you've got one cameo to establish Doom, then this movie to set everything up and position all the characters in the correct places.
Too bad they didn't waste all that time on Kang. They could have been putting that towards this shit, man.
Yeah, they really could have.
all those Kang dollars down the drain. Waste of time.
Have you heard what Jonathan Majors has tried to do? He's tried to go for the Kevin Spacey defense. He's went, well, I was sexually abused as a child.
Oh my God.
It's completely fine. I hit my girlfriend.
Fucking moron.
Yeah, I have a video coming out tomorrow that details all that about Jonathan Majors, actually. So that's actually been it's been interesting reading all the discourse about him. There's like a lot of defense of Jonathan Majors, and I'm like,
well, I mentioned it before, but did you see the video of his girlfriend chasing him through the street? Like, there's actual CC cam footage of it. It's hilarious. Like, she's no way she's catching him, but you can clearly see, at least, I'm not saying he didn't do it, but from that one moment, you can at least see he was trying to de-escalate it. Like, to the point of running away from this chick.
I need to just pause for a second. And Platoon, you might want to read this one. We just got a $500 super chat.
Jesus Christ! I hope you didn't mistype. But thank
Holy
you.
Fuck.
Yeah. Well, here in the States, the only Shakespeare students are likely to read or watch in school nowadays is Romeo and Juliet. This is absurd, since there's probably no famous Shakespeare play less likely to appeal to young people than a play or movie in a universe where arranged marriages are a given. What Shakespeare play or movie do you think would work best for high school? Yeah, I'm still kind of in shock. Fucking yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I don't know. I'm not necessarily sure I would agree with that. I mean, Romeo and Juliet, it's not necessarily about arranged marriages. It's about love versus social expectation, which is, I think, the reason it is chosen for high school so often is precisely that it's so easy to make it appeal, in theory, to angsty teenagers who are going through their first relationships and who might be worried about what their parents think of it and trying to go against the grain in that respect. We did like Macbeth and actually that was in lower than high school, but we did Macbeth, which was, I would say, hard going for kids of like 12 years old. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a reason it's the one that's picked most often. I'm struggling to think of one that's easier.
Othello might be the best suited for high school students in terms of like the relationship dynamics and everything in that story that goes on. Might be one that would work.
Maybe. I mean, I'm guessing because the things I would be looking for, I guess, for high school students would be like easily graspable themes, relatable characters, and a fair amount of leeway with precise details about setting, which is why like it's had so many adaptations, including the really cringy, horrible modern one with Leonardo DiCaprio, which I hate. But in theory, it's people like that kind of shit, Shakespearean dialogue, and he threatens to pull out a sword and pulls out like a Glock or something, which is just embarrassing, but it's quite funny.
Did you see the Othello adaptation with Josh Hartnett and Mekhi Phifer and Julie? I can never remember her name. The Save the Last Dance girl. I can never remember her name though. But that was actually a pretally decent adaptation if you've heard of that one. It's called O.
I don't think I have actually. No.
Yeah, it's like a modern adaptation of Othello's play, and it's actually really, really well acted from what I remember. Just watching the whole thing play out, because it's part of the reason I think it would be a good pick, because if that was your introduction to the story, you would get much more invested in the entire plot and be willing to watch the original, I think, because I just think it's fascinating the way they did it.
Yeah. I mean, because there are certain ones that would definitely appeal to me more, but again, like it's difference between like appealing to individuals and appealing to your general high school age student, I think, which is a different thing. Because like, which is it Richard III, which has Gandalf in it as like a Nazi? Is that's a movie? I'm sure it is.
Not sure. Well, I just know most Shakespeare adaptations are cringe, like the Leonardo one that you mentioned. I remember trying to be like, what the hell is this? But actually, like I'd watch that again. I really did like it.
Yeah, I think I'd have to revisit loads of them though, because like high school, it's almost, I almost want to say it's the wrong place to do it though. It puts so many people off so early. It put me off Shakespeare for fucking decades at that point. English teachers are very seldom the right people to introduce you to anything to do with English. So
I was a teacher in high school, made me watch 12 Angry Men, so that was a good pick.
Oh, that's a good choice.
That is definitely a good one. I feel like everyone should be almost forced to watch that movie in terms of critical thinking and understanding different personalities. Such a good movie.
All I remember from my English teacher was someone killed his fish by pouring a Coke can into his fish tank.
Was it you?
It wasn't me. That's all I remember.
Oh my fucking god. Thanks for that super chat. That's insane. Thank you
that's
so much.
mad. I sincerely hope you don't wake up sober tomorrow and think, oh shit. I just typed the 5 button. I didn't add the zeros. But very generous if you meant it. Thank you very much.
To continue a little Avengers talk here, Joe Russo says the upcoming Avengers films will draw inspiration from both the 1980s and 2010s Secret Wars comic book series. We always create our own version of the story. This does hold true with the Infinity Saga that they did, because there was a 2010s version of that and an 80s version too. And they don't make good movies outside of the MCU, but they do in it. So I don't know. It could.
Are these good runs or are they terrible?
The 80s is a classic run, but I don't like. What does that even mean? I don't think it's very good. The chat will probably disagree with me on that, honestly, but I think it's just fucking mind-numbingly 80s. The 2010s version I actually really did enjoy. That's where this image is from, actually.
But when they say drawing inspiration from, that could mean anything. That could mean just them like throwing a costume on a random person.
Yeah, I mean, a really good example of that was the most recent film they've done, right? The Electric State, which is a classic example of we drew inspiration from, and by that they meant we just completely fucking butchered it.
Yeah,
it's nothing like the original work at all. Yeah. So I mean, maybe the inspiration they'll take from the comics run is the useful bit, which is that it's a reset. We can kill lots of people. We can shut off the multiverse or something. That would be a useful piece of inspiration to take.
Yeah. The 2010s one, chat says that one isn't universally loved. And no, it's not. But it is a Doctor Doom story, and I think it's a really fucking good one. The lead-in from Fantastic Four, I don't even like Fantastic Four, but the comic book series that the writer who did the 2015 Secret Wars, he also did a lead-in series of Fantastic Four, and that's where I discovered Doctor Doom as like, oh, this guy is like the Joker equivalent of, not the same character by any means, but like that big of a character for villainy. Like he is that important. He's Marvel's Joker, if you will, as far as just being the top tier villain. He's the fucking man. And
so much cooler than the Fantastic Four as well. That's what I've
yeah, he's way cooler.
Like, what are
than
you
the
doing
Fantastic
here?
Four.
Yeah, like you're in the wrong crew here.
Yeah.
I hope there's one moment where he goes, Doom.
No, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the chat, but Dr. Vader, Darth Vader is basically based off Doctor Doom in terms of inspiration for design. That's all you need to know about how badass that dude is.
Yeah, Doom is the Jonathan Hickman version of Doctor Doom is fucking amazing, and the best villain in the MCU. So,
but does RDJ have the gravitas? Can he actually project that like authority and aggression and power that Doom has?
It's gonna be Iron Man in a green shirt. Like it's
gonna be weird.
I think it's a terrible idea. He plays such a he is so attached to this character, Iron Man, Tony Stark. It's impossible to have him in the MCU and not think of Tony. This is a horrible mistake.
That's why I wonder if
it's. Sorry, after you.
I was just going to say, I wonder if that's why it might be a bit of stunt casting to get excitement, because he's going to be if they're going to do it right, he needs to be behind a mask the whole time, and he'd have makeup effects too, because he's all fucked up underneath it. So
I would rather that. I don't want to see Iron Man in there at all. But they can't.
I don't want to see him. Yeah,
they Quantum Media proved that every 2 seconds they're taking it off the stupid nanotech shit because we have to see their face as they're emoting. I don't want to see RDJ's face. Period. Put him in the mask. Voiceover, everything. Like, let's see.
What they won't do that though, because like you could do that with anyone in that.
Exactly.
You wouldn't spend 90 million to bring like one of the most famous face in all of Marvel back if you weren't going to show his face quite a lot. I wouldn't imagine, but like I have quite a large degree of faith in his abilities to play these roles. But I think it will be a case of almost first scene make or break. If in his first scene he's doing Iron Man, and their idea is we're just going to shock you by it's Iron Man, but he's bad now, then I think they will have completely missed the point. If the first time you see him and he takes the mask off and it's the shock of recognition, oh shit, it's him. But then from the first line he speaks, he's quite clearly a very different character, acting as an entirely different person. Then there might be some promise to it, because he's got great range. So that would be what I would hope to see.
But I hope pull off a performance.
Go ahead.
I hope he's Lincoln Osiris from Tropic Thunder. There's your limp dick faggots. Follow me.
Just take it off. If you're right, Platoon. I didn't even think of it that way. If you can pull off a performance that like is miles away from his Tony Stark, and we can actually have both of those, and you can appreciate his range, it's the only way to save this, because we know he's not going to be in the mask, so we have to do something that's completely. You know what? That's kind of what I'm rooting for now, because it's the only way to salvage this idea, a completely different interpretation of like his talents and But so many people see him as Tony, it's going to be tough, man. You're going to have to give him like a Nosferatu voice or something. Like, I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, he can't have that quippy voice of his.
No.
They have got to change it somehow. So.
Have you watched Zodiac recently? The thriller Zodiac?
No, that's a great film, though. I remember
he's in that, and you can see his charisma there. I'm like, man, this is just Iron Man, like light. Like, this is just before Iron Man, but the charisma was always there, and it's such a distinct part of him. You have to remove that completely. It needs to be cut
he's got to keep that under wraps, because I think I mentioned a Scanner Darkly last week, and that's like Iron Man light as well. It's just this quippy person. It seems to be Robert Downey Jr.
It's him.
Well, he is the most powerful person on set. He's got the most money. He's the linchpin of the movie. If RDJ acts like an asshole, we don't know if he will. He could just derail the entire movie, and who's going to stop him? So you never know. It could be the acting that's the problem. It could, what will kill Doom is if he makes a fucking quip. He makes one Marvel humor joke that kills him.
Ultron. You're talking about Ultron right there. Ultron could have been one of the goats for the MCU villains, but they needed to have him be a jokey dickhead, like making quips, and you're so right, Reaper. Just no jokes. Like, Thanos came in, beat the shit out of the Hulk, choked the hell out of Loki, killed Heimdall. No jokes, no quips. Took it seriously. That's how it's done. Just learn from that. It's so simple. But we know we're gonna get like.
When Loki is getting choked, he goes harder.
What? Do you remember that scene for? That's how you introduce a villain. It's like, it's not difficult, but I don't know.
That's a fair comment here.
I still have to see Oppenheimer. That would be the one to watch before judging him.
Yeah, he's definitely not Iron Man in that movie. Very
Okay.
good.
I wasn't saying that's all he can do. I was saying it's a part of his personality that's so natural to him that he's going to have to tone it down for this particular role.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who was it? Marlon Brando who said, "I feel like playing the character like an inanimate object," and everyone would just go, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
What? Where's this from?
Because I can't remember. It was there was I was watching this interview and this guy was saying, "You're gonna have to work with Marlon Brando, but I must warn you, he's gonna say a lot of stupid shit." So he walks in and he goes, "Oh, what do you think about your role?" And he goes, "I like it. I like it. I feel like I should play the character like an inanimate object." And
There's so many weird stories.
All the directors just go, "That's a great idea, but Marlon," and keep trying to change it. And I'm just thinking, I don't think he will. I think he'll play ball, but at the end of the day, Robert Downey Jr. is the most powerful person on set, and he might insist on having his say in the script.
That might be a good thing though, because everybody talks about Edward Norton's Hulk, Edward Norton being an asshole because he was wanting to take over the project. But I feel like that's part of the reason we actually got some good scenes in that movie. And Edward Norton wanted to start that movie with Hulk trying to commit suicide and actually take it down a darker route. I think with Edward Norton, we would have gotten a better Hulk that had respect for his character in the MCU, not Mark Ruffalo's bullshit. He just completely ruined the character. So sometimes having someone with the backbone is a good thing. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, and we got a Mark Ruffalo looking Hulk too, which just
oh my fucking god,
damn it!
Smart Hulk, Fat Thor, like what the fuck? Man?
What the fuck? Yeah,
that's all I could say.
Well, we can say something about Elizabeth Olsen, who
what are you doing here?
She would love to continue playing Scarlet Witch in the MCU.
You're fucking dead. You're fucking dead. I saw you die. What do you mean? Can anyone stay dead? I know there was a little stupid red blip there, but what the fuck? I'm like, I can't.
There's a red blip. Isn't there the implication in Agatha as well that she's probably not? No, we all know she's not going to be dead, but I think Agatha sort of gave even more hints that she's definitely not dead.
Bro, I skipped.
Is she even doing anything else these days? Is she just
maybe that's why she's saying
working?
This.
I would love some work.
Look, it's the money, man. We're gonna see That's why Daisy's back as Ray. That's why everyone is gonna come back. Because what else are they really doing?
You've still got White Vision. White Vision is just out there.
Nobody
flying.
knows.
I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
We'll find out when Vision Quest comes out. That's a TV show that's actually being made.
If that even comes out,
or after Doomsday.
I would guess after.
Is it still being made?
I think so.
Is he just going to forget about Doomsday? Because what were you doing?
Yeah,
I was off.
Vanilla Vision is out there somewhere and nobody cares. It's like, I don't know why they just create these characters and just forget about them.
But as you said, like the Russo brothers were trying to do a through line with the movies, but we still got side fucking quest TV shows coming out. So how can you possibly do that?
Secret Invasion should have been a factor in the Marvels, but they ignored it. The Marvels should have been a factor in Captain America 4, but they ignored it. You can't call it a cinematic universe anymore. It's a joke. The continuity is like probably the weakest part of it. Because we're at a point where we're like guessing what's going to be respected. What like even in Daredevil, we're acknowledging Echo but laughing at it, completely ignoring She-Hulk for the most part so far. So we don't even know what's going to be, canon or not. We don't even know what universe the next MCU movie is going to be in. Like, it's just a bunch of nonsense. So
well, that's one of the other interesting questions which I had about the whole Secret Wars premise, which is there a world in which we actually shift universes after that, and that's their way of creating something brand new? We leave, like, everything has been taking place in this universe. One of the quickest ways to get out of it and ditch as much baggage as possible is that you simply move. Fantastic Four is set in a different universe. Fantastic Four First Steps, maybe we'll just stick there and we'll have a whole new universe with a whole new cast of characters, and we can forget about, sadly, Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch and White Vision as whoever the fuck he is, and all the rest of it.
That's kind of their only choice at this point, but how are they going to do that in any effective way that we, like, no matter what they do, we're going to know why they're doing it, just to fucking open up. They've screwed it up at this point. They need to just reset. I just can't see them writing it in a way that's effective.
I think they'll have their eggs in each two. They'll combine them into one universe. But they'll still leave the multiverse open she can still get variants of other people coming into this new universe. It'll be the worst of both worlds.
Probably they won't commit. Because the multiverse is just so juicy of an option to be able to like the multiverse, like it or love it, has made them a lot of money in certain movies. No Way Home, Deadpool and Wolverine. They're crap, but this concept is something that you can just bring all the famous people back, and that's what they really care about. It's not actors anymore; it's characters that are making the money. So
that was the point of the variants. The variants are we can just get a cheaper version of you, and hopefully the audience will transfer their love of that character onto this actor.
Well, then you have the reverse of that in real life with Superman getting a cheaper version of Henry Cavill, and now everyone is just like against this movie so much. I feel sorry for that dude.
It is funny. It's like the multiverse is like mass unskilled immigration for actors. It's just here's loads of people who can do your job for less money, and then they all come out and say, "Oh, I really value playing this role, and I'll do it for a bit less. Let me carry on being the Scarlet Witch. Don't give it to the Polish person who just walked in, please."
It's a joke, man. And has that ever worked? Ever being able to just like no, especially in the early MCU. The characters were tied to those particular actors. Like you couldn't just replace Black Widow with someone halfway through. Like they've forgotten that component. The casting was actually pretty well. Like one of the things that they didn't appreciate the most in the MCU. Like I think Chris Evans is a very average actor, but he's pretty great as Captain America.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. But I just assumed that we would see Scarlet Witch again, though. I mean, I thought they'd have to ambiguous. Now, is it? It's unusual that she's coming out and saying she'd love to carry on, given that I just assumed that she was carrying on. I don't know anyone who came away from Multiverse of Madness saying, "Oh, she's definitely dead."
Nobody.
I wonder how long her contract is for.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah,
that'll answer a lot of questions, right? So apparently they had to be handing out to the Russos. They were handing out like trading cards that just had all the actors and their characters and how many movies they had left on their contracts so that they could try and keep tabs on all of it because it's so complicated at this point.
I think what she means by this is that I don't think she's been offered a role in Doomsday.
Yes.
She's putting it out there.
So I think Vision and her won't be in either. I think she'll just show up in his TV show.
Yeah, that's believable.
She was signed on for 7 total Marvel projects.
She's a fucking psychopath anyway.
She keeps signing extensions.
Her character got absolutely obliterated. It's shocking. And the fact that they think they're going to just be able to ignore that and bring her back, no problem. Like it would take like a trilogy of films to fix Wanda.
Like, is she still going to be insane? Like, what's her excuse? Oh, I went a bit crazy, but, I'm over it now.
It's going to be really awkward when she comes back and tries to live it down. Hey, remember when you tried to blow up the multiverse because you imagined some children and then you tried to steal somebody else's children?
Chasing a child across the fucking universe to kill this child so she can steal someone else's children. And then all they have to do pretty much is like show them like that she's a fucking monster and she freaks out. Like it's a complete joke.
I've heard of Time of the Month, but that's a bit extreme.
Yeah, man, it's the worst representation. It's the worst thing that ever happened to women. Wanda Maximoff in Multiverse of Madness. It's an embarrassment. It's such an
crazy statement, but
yeah, it is. In terms of representation for what a mother is supposed to be, or a woman's composure. Watching her go batshit trying to chase fake children playing The Sims. Ugh.
Yeah, you just don't understand what she sacrificed for them.
It's fucking bad.
Oh my god,
She-Hulk was worse for women.
Was it though? Was it? Oh jeez, at least you can laugh at that. Like Wanda's. Ugh.
It was fascinating. She-Hulk was fascinating from a perspective of a woman, how insane they are, how out of touch of reality those type of women are. Because she gets fucked by she goes, these people aren't good enough for me. No, the only person who's good enough for me is this handsome, young, veteran fucking millionaire who looks after children. That's Tatiana Maslany's level. And then he fucks it and dumps her, and she never has a moment where she goes, hang on, I've been nothing but a whore. Maybe I should stop doing this.
There's no self-reflection in that show.
Whatever.
Yeah. You're complaining about her being, sexualized and ogled by men in the same show that you have her fucking twerking in The Office. It's just, you can't have these same ideas in the same show. Like, She-Hulk was just a disaster.
But she goes back to being a drunk whore. And then she never recognizes her own problems. She's insane, like all middle-aged women are.
No, it's just horrible representation. It was made by like wine moms and like dumping their fucking anxiety and their issues into the script.
All their trauma was like in the script. It was the therapy session for them.
The Acolyte and She-Hulk, those are two of the most hateful shows in terms of just putting all your issues into the character. It was just therapy.
I mean, Leslie Headland even admitted as such that she wrote Saul as like, what was it, her stepfather or some sort of father figure she had growing up.
Like overly protective, patriarchal figure. Yeah.
This guy wanted to protect me. What a fucking piece of shit.
He deserved to die.
Most character assassinations that are really potent, I describe usually have long-running characters, like Wanda Maximoff is one, Daenerys Targaryen, Jon Snow, Luke Skywalker, John Connor. There's the whole list you can go through. Soul is one of the unique ones where I've never seen a character get introduced and obliterated the way they did to Soul. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life in terms of character assassination. It's so unjustified and just disgusting. I couldn't believe it.
I would like the fact that her stepfather was a Korean man who could barely speak English.
It's just fucking insane, man.
Well, that does it for the topics. I was going to move on to doing the super chats that we have left, if that's cool with you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. TTV Monster was the first. He threw this in before the show started. He said, "Hi, Platoon, Cynic, Jedi, and Reaper, and whatever poor soul is producing this stream. It's me. I'm producing the show. Happy Monday. It's my Friday. It's a joy to see all of you today. It's a joy to see you in the chat, man."
Yes. How is it Friday where you are, though?
Yeah,
I think he means it's
his
like,
day off, I guess.
It's his day off tomorrow. It's his weekend start. Yeah. Toivo Carhonen says, "Rank these quotes from least cringe to most cringe. A, there's a tempest in me by Guy Ladriel. Oh, they fly now. They fly now. They fly now. C-3PO, Poe, and Finn. And who's going to give you a reach around? Joker." Oh, God, that is fucking cringe. I hate that version of the Joker so much.
I think just the delivery for Guy Ladriel has to make it number one. Like, she's so bad.
It's the funniest as well.
Yeah.
Whereas Joker's just spiteful.
It's just...
Yeah, I'd say that's number 2 because They Fly Now. There are worse quotes from that movie.
100%.
Yeah.
So
that's just a dumb one that makes you like, it doesn't actually affect you physically like the Guy Ladriel.
Yeah, I mean, it was written to be funny as opposed to There Is a Tempest in Me, which was just funny, but it definitely wasn't supposed to be.
It was supposed to be intimidating and empowering, but it was a joke.
Yeah, and the Joker quote is the most Zack Snyder thing that you could possibly have because he's the guy who said that, Batman could be raped in my movie. So, of course, he would write something like this.
It's fucking weirdo, man.
Well, he was right. It raped the Joker out of him.
Yeah.
And there's a line in a Kate Blanchett movie where she delivers that same line, "There's a tempest in me," and she actually nails it. It's kind of funny if you can find it out there on YouTube, but you can see the difference of Guy Ladriel versus Kate Blanchett actually like using the same line, but an actress versus a joke. Like, it's pretty interesting.
Hemorrhoid hurts. Morning, friends. Hemorrhoid here for his BSUP dose. I hope you got it, my friend. Bonesaw is ready. Says, "Speaking of Halle Bailey, did you see her sister is in that new movie Sneaks about sentient basketball shoes? But Hollywood doesn't stereotype, huh?"
So is Anthony Mackie, isn't he?
Yes.
Is that like Mike?
It's called it's called Sneaks. There's a trailer for it. I saw it on Twitter. Someone said it's Toy Story for black people, but it's just a pair of sentient shoes.
What?
And like
they already did that with Like Mike and Little Bow Wow. Like, how many times every 20 years we have to fucking do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite. I mean, I think that's what they were aiming for with it as well, which is like that's probably the more offensive thing about it. It's just like, how do we appeal to this? Well, they like their sneakers, they do. So let's have sentient sneakers, and they get split up, and they have to try and find each other again.
That sounds thrilling.
Yeah.
You've got Lawrence Fishburne. It's got Martin Lawrence.
Oh no. It just sounds stupid already. No thanks.
It's just an all-black cast.
God.
So wait, what, is it just going to be we're a pair and we're separated?
I think so. I mean, I didn't pay a huge amount of attention to the trailer, but that was the basic idea I got. And I think that the kid who owns them has to get them back so he can wear them to a basketball game or something. Just part as many vaguely offensive Hollywood cliches as you can into a movie. And you've kind of got this one.
I feel like I've seen
what happens when someone wears you? Do they climax when a foot goes inside them? They go, oh,
instantly. I don't know. Just the premise is so lame from the beginning. You just know the opportunities. Just we've seen this done so many times. I don't think they're going to do anything unique that's worth watching with it.
Yeah. I mean, it might be funny to rip on, but that's about as much as it is. But I sort of got the same impression, funnily enough, as She-Hulk, because I remember saying, because it's one of the first videos I did that sort of got any numbers was She-Hulk, and I think one of the lines in the first video was that I would be offended as a woman watching this show because this is what they think women like. Yeah. And actually, most women, they like kind of more intelligent things than this. I don't think you should be speaking down to women. Hollywood has this massive problem with any kind of massively targeted production like this, is it always like uses the worst, lowest common denominator for its target audience, and they should be more offended.
It's annoying.
Paul Connolly asks Reaper, did you use today as an excuse to get drunk? I'm asking as practically half of Liverpool is Irish. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day, BSUP. And right back to you.
I don't need St. Patrick as an excuse to get drunk. A little bit, yeah. Oh, it's more than half. It's about 3/4. They're fucking everywhere. I don't think I'm Irish. I don't know. Never checked.
James
But
Busher.
They would explain my penchant for violence.
They should do like a sneakers movie for the Irish people, and it's two potatoes, and they have to like escape the Guinness factory or something and leave to America where they find a new life.
Boom.
And then they commit crimes.
Commit crimes, yeah.
It just gets really dark. You set up the Irish mob and kill people.
Preach LP. James Busher says cumulative total U.S. box office this weekend was only $50 million. How much trouble do you think movie theaters are really in, medium and long term? I was having this conversation with my girlfriend a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think movie theaters are going to go away in my lifetime, but they definitely will just become like specialty things.
Yeah, the dynamic has changed, and people really have to. The incentive to go to the theater just isn't the same anymore. When especially with streaming and all the especially with COVID, people got used to just watching things, especially high production value things at home, and expensive TVs are cheaper now. It's a lot easier to enjoy yourself at home when it comes to theaters. The movie isn't mandatory, so what we need is an actual reason to go out. Like Godzilla -1, there's no way I was watching that on a little screen. I wanted to see that in IMAX properly. So
you can get like a fucking 85-inch TV for $1,000 now.
It's crazy.
Like it's just nuts. You can get a 4K 85-inch television for $1,000. It's insanity.
That is impressive.
It's funny though, because all you use it is to watch people get hit in the balls.
What?
That's all I do. Like, you get this super high def fucking TV, and all you watch is people knocking each other out in the streets.
I think that's a you problem more than it's a
TV for more than that.
Oh, is that not normal?
You got to throw some cat videos in there somewhere. But
well, the problem is the algorithm locks you in. You watch one guy get knocked out, they show you nothing but unconscious people.
That short, the YouTube short thing works that way. You just get stuck down a rabbit hole of nonsense.
This is why I never watch them. I don't want it to take any viewing preference away from what I accidentally click on a YouTube short. They're really the funny one that was it Instagram last week or the week before? Someone was fucking around with the back end of Instagram and they changed everybody's timelines. And so you got a bunch of traumatized people who were like, "Oh, my timeline used to be loads of like just funny cats." And then because Instagram fucked things over, everyone was just getting sent like snuff videos of people getting shot in the head. And it's like, and then it sort of learned from that preference instead.
You like violence? Would you like some more? No.
Yeah, a couple clicks can completely change your algorithm, the timeline. You don't even recognize your front page anymore.
Yeah, it's always worth clearing your watch history every now and then and deleting all of the cookies just for general good internet hygiene practices, but to prevent it from pigeonholing you into a kind of person who likes that kind of content is probably a good idea. But on the box office question, do we think, I don't know what the usual box office average figures are for like the
low.
March period. Is it significantly lower even for the time of year?
Yeah, it's really bad. The number one film only made like $8 million, which is crazy. I mean, the box office has had worse in its history, but that's just generally not good.
It might just open like during the summer or during the Christmas season, just like these little periods, and then he shut down for most of the year.
Yeah, that could really be a thing.
Well, the popcorn buckets, gimmicks like that, they're going to need things like that to get people like making the experience valuable. And I think that's a step in the right direction. So going specifically so you can get this item to represent the movie that you watched. But we need more than that. That's a good start, but it needs to be a special experience. Why should I in 2025 go and get a movie ticket when I can just wait a few days and find a copy of it? Or especially with the streaming stuff now, it's just become so easy. So they have to just really increase the value around going to the theaters, from the seats to the buckets.
Especially how expensive it is. I mean, you take it's only one part. It's only one part of a night. You take your whole family out. You have to get popcorn. You have to get fucking whatever.
It's $100.
That's crazy expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just part one of the night. You then got to go out and fucking eat.
Yeah, and then imagine watching a shitty movie on top of it too.
Well, that's the big one, right?
$150 and the movie is shit, and they want to go again next week. And it's like where you could have spent $20 and did it at home.
Yeah, but I've been told we should be grateful that we get all this shit. Like, do you factor in that people actually pay to see this shit, and we have a right to complain about why it's so bad?
I remember when I was young and we were really poor, my mum would take us to one picture, and then we just jump between different movies all day. So I would watch half of Austin Powers and then half of Winnie the Pooh and then half of something else.
Gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck at that theater.
Toivo Korhonen, once again, another round of Cringe Fest. Rank these from least cringe to most cringe. Things said by Rachel Zegler, things said by Mark Ruffalo, and things said by Ezra Miller.
It's a tough one.
Well, Ezra Miller's more funny because whilst The Flash was out, he was on the run.
Yeah.
He was advertising a movie, ironically running away in his movie where he plays a speedster.
Yeah. I mean, he is mad, which kind of I think detracts from the cringe value of his statements because they're just hilarious. Like the video where he got arrested, and then like he said, "I am, my pronouns are they them." Hey, stop touching my balls. Like that's fucking funny.
Or he chokes the pregnant woman.
Yeah, he's like, "What would happen if I choked you right now? What would happen? What would happen?"
He slams her to the ground.
Yeah, he's way funnier for sure.
So it's between Ruffalo and Zegler, I think. I mean, Ruffalo is very cringe.
I think he's cringe.
Coin tossed it.
He's cringe tweets and like comments, but she's got like actual footage of her being cringe as fuck. And you know what? Just that walk that she did on stage that was so ungraceful compared to Gal Gadot. Like she's doing the Billy strut. Like, what are you doing, you ape? Like it's just from that alone, she's the most cringe. She didn't even say anything and she loses. That's the most unsexy, ungraceful walk I've ever seen.
As shit in that walk.
The most unsexy walk ever while being smug. Like you can't. Come on.
You
look over at Gal Gadot. She can't act, but she knows how to be a woman. Like learn.
True.
Beauty and grace.
Yeah.
She's probably had that since school. If you look back at her schoolhood photos, she will have that smug face from fucking grade school all the way to graduation.
I knew I'd be in a bunch of bombs and that never made profit.
And I deserve to be paid for my fucking hour. Just like she's so entitled, man. Can't stand.
Do you think she does that? You know who I am?
Yeah, on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, I bet she does.
Seems like that type. Like, do you even know who I am? Like, yeah, that type of shit. I don't care how famous you are, how rich you are. It's never a good look pulling the "Do you know who I am" thing.
Tim Davidson says, "What lives in the far north and south has manic depression and is polyamorous? A bipolar bear." All right. Tim again says, "Some don't like to be called dwarf, some don't like to be called midget, so I just call them all Oompa Loompas."
I just call them crazy. That
Crazy
usually sends them in a spiral.
Just like, all right, little guy. Sounds good. Wild Song says, "Hail the little Platoon and panel. Platoon, I just finished your 14-hour Acolyte marathon video, and your commentary on Smilo's lightsaber was pure gold. Please do a short bit from that, if inclined."
Oh, was that the... Oh, that was for the audio descriptions, wasn't it? When like the audio description woman was simping over his being naked. It was quite funny. So I decided to do the same thing. No, I don't do small bits. You have to like go through a 14-hour video to find that bit. That's the joy of this channel.
Damn. Jefferson C. Post says, "In this era where all the streamers are hungry for more content, why do scriptwriters seem so intent on rushing stories? Is it just about moments?"
They don't even give you that.
Yeah, there are no moments in these movies anymore. Yeah,
like Daredevil just rushes through the foggy moment with after he dies.
Yeah.
Even the Kingpin conversation, like they're just like, "Oh hey, how you doing? Like, nice shirt. How you been?" It's like, what? They could have done so much more with that.
Oh god, yeah. It's like, "You're not being the Kingpin again, are you? No. You're not being Daredevil again, are you? No."
It's like that was it. Thanks, nice to see you, bro. I just feel like we could have got that was like a 2 and we could have got a 10.
Do you think it's lack of talent or they simply don't give a shit?
It's both.
Probably both, yeah.
Lack of talent and not understanding why those scenes were effective. The fact that they came out and said they don't want any more scenes like the Daredevil and Punisher conversation is like you're dead on arrival now. It's arguably the best scene in the entire series, and you don't think it's quality. Like, I want nothing more to do with your thought process on anything.
Well, a lot of people were hired during the DEI phase, so people do say the woke's being put away, but these people are infested into the corporations. They're everywhere. And until AI kicks them out, we're still going to get shit.
The decision to turn Foggy and Karen black, guarantee you, that was done a long time ago and the wheels were already in motion. I don't think that decision would be made right now if this show was going to be in production, because they know the value of those two characters. Just the race swapping bullshit is just not enough. Like, what have those two characters brought to this show that Foggy and Karen couldn't have done? It's absolute horseshit.
I still think they'll keep doing it. Because look at Star Trek. Star Trek hasn't made any money, and they're still making this. People are still there. Alex Kurtzman is still there, raping Star Trek. That's the thing. It doesn't matter. You can change the direction. You still got the same people.
Well, Mr. Talk About It says he didn't watch Daredevil Born Again out of principle, so time saved. Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd recommend it at this point. If you're a fan of the Netflix Daredevil first, 3 seasons, this isn't that. This is
Skinwalker it's definitely version. Not that. Yeah.
Skinwalker version, man.
Yeah. Genmai Cha says, Dune spoilers, off-topic question. Dune 3 is in pre-production. Do you think that Jason Momoa can pull off Mystic Philosopher human supercomputer?
No, but I'd like to see him try.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a computer with just going, yeah, bro?
My man.
My man.
Yeah. That's how he uses his whole script.
Our good friend Melvin Deeply. Once upon a time in Hollywood, be manatee shite. Yeah, it's not a good movie.
Wasn't he going to do The Critic?
Yeah,
Quentin Tarantino, and he backed out.
Yeah. Well, it's he boxed himself in with his final movie, so it's going to be a banger. So this is his own doing. Jefferson C. Post. So Echo had the power set of Cybok in Star Trek V.
That is not a reference I get. I
Cybok
think
or
I've
Cybok?
seen Star Trek V, but I don't remember it.
I'm not
Possibly?
a Star Trek guy.
I watched her whole show, like pretty much twice to make my video. I still don't know what the fuck her powers are. The only way we can describe it is her mind raping Kingpin, because we know that's one part of it. But how the hell is she able to like fight the way she fights? Like she's got like spider sense and super strength, but she doesn't. It's like it doesn't make any sense.
Type Zero says Anthony Mackie is literally going to be voicing one half of a pair of sneakers.
Yep.
It's called Sneaks. You cannot be you can't make a more ironic analogy.
But this again, he's picked because he's black, because they want a black cast. So again, it's like, oh, someone's been picked. You have to be the man. But again, he's a fucking diversity hire.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not going to be. I mean, he's not a particularly talented actor, I don't think, but talented voice actor. I'm not really seeing there. I'm sure there are plenty of more talented voice actors that could be playing that role, but they don't have his name, so they weren't given it.
Mega Spidey Man, hello there to the hosts. How did the two of you first meet, and what do you like and admire most about one another? Happy St. Patrick's Day, lads. What do I like about you?
That's not awkward at all. Don't worry.
Hard to answer. I liked the blue hair. That was good.
At the time,
you know, it's gone now. So
yeah. We first met because his channel came across my algorithm, and I noticed we had about the same amount of subscribers. So I was like, I'll just see if he wants to come on and talk on a podcast. And it was called Cynics Lounge, and I think I did like 3 episodes. And that was when we first started talking.
Yeah.
And I think Little Platoon, as most of you probably do, is absolutely fucking brilliant. And he's also a really, really good friend. And I really appreciate that about him.
See, I would have said that, but that sounded too gay. So I didn't go with that one. but right back at you.
All right, then.
I don't think you guys could have answered this question without getting a little gay, so don't worry.
Yeah, like you set us up for the gay. Yeah.
Kind of impossible.
TGV Monster for $20. I've been making a comic book series on Webtoons called Living Dead Hunters. It's about 5 people fighting monsters and the undead in an abandoned town run by a cult that takes place in the Lovecraft mythos. 7 issues out now. Well, shit, drop the link in the chat here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Drop it.
Will the main character get golf clubbed by some fucking Cthulhu monster?
Joe Eager for 20. Who the fuck is Red Skull?
Yeah, I didn't recognize him in Infinity War until a rewatch. So what the hell are you doing here?
I liked him, Mr. Agent Smith, in the original Captain America movie.
He was good. He's one of those, like, you can go through the list of actors, you know, big name or very talented actors who were almost wasted in the roles that they were given. And I'd say he's one of them because, yeah, Red Skull's good in the first Captain America, but the actor is good enough to warrant more than one movie. And I think he didn't return, did he, for Infinity War because of scheduling conflicts, but it would have been quite cool to see more Hugo Weaving in the MCU.
Oh, yeah.
A few actors like that.
I can never remember his name, but Justin Hammer, Iron Man 2. What's the guy's name?
Yeah.
He was fantastic. I can remember his name right now for some reason. You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah, I know exactly who you mean. Yeah. It's gone. What the fuck is
it's
his
just
name?
Sam Worthington. Wellington?
Worthington.
Yes. Worthington.
That's
something.
Yes.
Sam W.
Sam Dub.
Reaper, I've been picturing this whole podcast in the back of my head. I've been picturing like Rachel Zegler's face, all wrapped up. That's what we need. That's it. That's the solution right there.
Oh, fuck.
Just a bunch of Disney logos on them.
Yeah, that's it. That would save her career.
Everyone's correcting us. Sam Rockwell.
Rockwell. There we go.
Rockwell.
I didn't even have the letter right. It was Sam W.
Which one is Sam Worthington? You see the really boring one from
Avatar.
Avatar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
So
really
boring
boring
that
one from Avatar.
we assume he's somebody else because like he's just that dull.
Oh shit. He's like the dullest main character in a major franchise ever. Like
He
I
really
can't name a single thing about that dude.
He's blue.
Not at first.
And not at first. He's in a wheelchair at first, and that's interesting for him.
I didn't even remember that. I saw Avatar once. I was like, that was a thing. I've never watched it since. I skipped the second one.
Wise choice, my friend.
Mm.
Bonesaw is ready. He says, in my opinion, Tom Holland should get a sex scene in Spider-Man since Zendaya got Eiffel Towered by 2 tennis players on screen. That she did.
Did she really?
Yeah, I forget what it was called. It came out last year. Chat, help me out. I forget what the name of the movie is.
Is an Eiffel Tower the same as a spit roast?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
I didn't know that.
I thought it was slightly different, but
yeah.
I think what makes it the Eiffel Tower is the high five that has to commence and form the tower there.
I thought it'd be the horrible, awkward, direct eye contact you have to maintain.
See, someone says the Devil's Triangle, and someone also said it's Challengers. That is the movie. Yes, that's the name of the film. M8566 says RDJ going from Iron Man to Doctor Doom is like Rings of Power casting Viggo Mortensen to play Sauron. It's not going to work for the built-in audience. Probably
just can't
not.
do it, man.
Aren't they the hunt for Gollum? They're trying to get Viggo Mortensen to come back.
Yes, they
I
are.
want that, man. Viggo Mortensen's
That is when
is like perfection. Just leave it alone.
That is when Lord of the Rings really begins to die. When you get the actors you like come in and rape the character.
Yeah. The Hobbit didn't take a lot of damage because, let's be honest, Legolas is like the least interesting character in the Fellowship, and he was the only one other than Gandalf that was in those, so it didn't really damage Lord of the Rings that much. The Rings of Power you could barely take seriously, but if we start bringing back the OG actors in a big way and trying to change their stories, big mistake.
No, and I don't want to see Aragorn using a Zimmer frame as much as anything. He's too old. He's way too old to play that role. The amount of digital de-aging, you might as well cast a new person at that point.
But then they won't have you. You won't see the movie.
A part of the reason he was casted as Aragorn in the first place is because he was old enough for the role. They wanted someone who was a little bit older. They didn't want, like, a young Aragorn would not have worked. You needed that extra chunk of masculinity and experience.
Oh,
and
we're going to get young Aragorn, aren't we? We're going to get teenage Aragorn in the future, aren't we?
That, man. We've got Twink Isildur in Rings of Power, and even that is damaging Aragorn, because Aragorn is like what I describe as perfect casting. Like everything from his yell to like the tenacity he brought to the role. Viggo is just perfect for that, and just don't mess with it.
You can tell when they do a series, they're gonna go, I think you should be king, Viggo. And that's just fucking just every motivation he has will come from fucking woman in the Rangers. That's what's gonna happen when we get a young Viggo movie.
He was trained by some young elf female warrior prodigy.
Some interspecies, some dwarf. Some tiny dwarf woman is going to tell him to be the fucking steward of Gondor, king of Gondor, whatever the fuck he is.
The woman did it first trope is like one of the most potent ones. They did it with pretty much everything you could think of. It's like disgusting. Dark Fate, Doctor Who, 2 of the best examples, but there's so many where they just try to staple that on.
Taker 610 says the part in Leo Mio and Juliet where Jamie Kennedy gets into a shouting match with that dude over whether he did or did not bite his thumb at him, sir.
So I've blocked most of that movie from my mind, so I don't remember the scene, but I'm sure I would hate it if I saw it again.
I remember that being a thing when I was in school. That movie.
Yeah, there were some very loud shirts, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. I remember that. Everyone's shirt was super bright and fancy.
Yeah.
And the accent, man.
Jeremy Soden says, I'm 35 minutes behind listening to you all talk about Mr. Mackie. I get the impression that he's a decent chap, not overly encumbered with brains.
Well, we just said he's probably just had a big stream of consciousness moment where he's just saying shit.
But he's speaking out both sides of his mouth, which is the problem. Like he'll say something that maybe this is how he actually feels. He's trying to express this point, and then he's saying the diversity mandate points that they're making him say, and then those contradict his previous statement, and it's happening in the same interview, so it's awkward.
The last super chat of the day, Spectre Von Baron. On the topic of lowest common denominator, one that sticks with me is Platoon's observation that a Pakistani Canadian Muslim family should not be interchangeable with a Mexican American Catholic one.
Oh, was that for Blue Beetle or?
That's what it sounds like to me.
No,
it's Marvel or Blue Beetle.
Yeah, no, Blue Beetle was originally Mexican American anyway, I think so.
I think it was, there was the comment on the similarity of trope when using like any vaguely ethnic character background. Their families almost always blend into the same set of cliches, and a lot of them are quite interchangeable with each other, to the extent that I think the point I was making, I would have to go back and see it, is that there is more that unites the family background in Blue Beetle and Ms. Marvel than there really should be, given how very different those backstories are. But Hollywood's treatment of like families from different parts of the world invariably cheapens both, to the point where the difference is almost not worth mentioning.
Well, you can say that about Echo as well. Like entire, like they just played drums and had people like yelling, and they didn't actually play any real respect to their culture, or like do any proper research, but they still want to play, just put them in the suits and take credit for it. They didn't.
Wasn't there the bit in Echo where her mum was dying in hospital, and the Native Americans thought, well, white Western science isn't going to save her, so let's carry her out and stick her under a waterfall and chant with sticks.
Yep, it's fucking stupid. It's stupid. It's such a joke, man. And they never really addressed the fact that she's like a little kid trying to kill birds and shit. Like she's a monster, kicking people when they're down. Yeah, she's psycho. Like Echo is a
psychopath.
Nobody watched it, so you didn't really talk about it. But they completely botched that character. She's terrible, horrible person.
Someone says, Cynic, you should have played Echo. Maybe.
Did a better job.
I am part Native American after all.
There you
go. That does wrap it up for this week's BSUP. That wraps up for the super chats. We'll go around and thank the panel. I like this 4-person panel thing. This works.
Not too bad. Yeah, good flow.
Yeah, good flow for sure. Jedi Brooks just released a new video, but I'll let you talk about it. It was a really good fucking video.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, so yeah, please take it away. What are you up to? And what have you done
it takes me forever to make these videos. I'm always weeks after everyone's got it out. Like this conversation is dying down, but it's what I like about the scene comparisons is like once everyone's broken down the plot, and if I'm not particularly interested in going through the entire thing, I can really pick a scene and then see what comes to mind. And so I broke down the Captain America fight with Red Hulk, comparing it to the Winter Soldier fight, and just going over the intricate details and like the just the writing that actually makes the scene memorable. And it's really fun going back at those scenes and seeing why they were fun and comparing them into the joke that we have now. So I like the way the video turned out. It's really good quick watch for anyone who's just fed up with this garbage, and a nice reminder of the past. So yeah, definitely a fun comparison video to check out. And I'm still finishing the script for my top 5 deleted scenes video, and I just think that one's going to be a lot of fun. Just being able to break down deleted scenes and how much they affected particular movies, and just some of the things I covered on that has been really interesting to talk about. So
nice.
See that soon.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it anytime you're on this panel. So
no problem. Always fun, man. Always have fun. And
Reaper, another favorite guest of mine, sir. But all of his videos get fucking deleted. So by YouTube.
What's going on?
Oh, I'm just a bit. I give YouTube a healthy dose of the truth, and I can't handle it.
Oh, so, yeah, that's it right there.
Oh God, yeah. I don't have any issues with swearing or anything like that. But I've.
Well, it depends how much and how creative are you with your swearing. Because I go into skull shapes and everything. But I don't know. I'm working on something. I don't know. I'm still working on my Nocturne one, but it's fucking taking forever to come out. It's like an hour long.
Oh shit! So is that the longest video we've ever done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just past Fallout because I'm doing all of it. It won't be like intelligent like Platoons or anything.
Be more on
It's
par with one of mine then.
No, it'll be basically what Homer does, where you just say "screw Flanders" over and over again.
Well, excluding Platoon, because you don't fucking count for this one. What's your longest video, Cynic and Reaper?
Well, mine are compilation videos, so they don't really count.
Oh, that doesn't count. Like straight up one project video.
35 minutes.
What?
That's
Wow.
my longest
Mine
video.
was 40. I think it was me Fallout 1. I think it's 43.
I can't believe I have you guys. Okay, I'm wow. Top for 2 hours and 52 minutes for my top one.
How?
Oh,
Oh.
shit.
Yeah,
45 minutes.
If anyone's curious for that one, it's the desecration of Jon Snow, and it's for anyone who didn't watch Game of Thrones, doesn't have time to watch all 8 seasons, but you get the entire story of Jon Snow, which pretty much summarizes Game of Thrones leading into season 8, so you can have a good understanding of what they actually did to this show. So basically showing the destruction of Game of Thrones from the very beginning, so you can get full context. So long ass video, but longest one I ever made.
But the thing is, though, what I don't understand is how does Platoon make 14 hours of the Acolyte? It's not
Yeah,
even
Jesus Christ.
Physically.
That
Human,
was a
yeah.
compilation. It doesn't count. It's a compilation.
You're one of the only YouTubers where I wonder, like, physically, like, how? Like, how is this enough? How the hell is it
that
impossible?
much to say?
Yeah.
It's fun. Like, it's a refresh after every week. It's just a 90-minute video for each episode of The Acolyte, which is it's just funny. There's lots and lots and lots to take the piss out of in The Acolyte. And it helps if you know a bit about Star Wars stuff, or you might go on a tangent about the Roman Empire, which I did in one of them. So you can find ways to fill the runtime. The longest uninterrupted project that isn't a compilation, I think, was 5.5 hours, I think. I want to say that might even have been the Marvels.
Wasn't your Echo video like super fucking long?
That was like 3.5, I think.
So
which was, I mean, way too long for what that show deserved.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, my videos generally around 15, 20 minutes, and my goal is to get as much quality and as many points as I can within that time frame. So one of my best compliments I could possibly get is someone saying, like, a video that was 40 minutes felt like 20 minutes because of the pacing, or a video that was 20 minutes almost felt like it was half an hour because of the amount of details that were mentioned. But I have to, like the Marvel video that I made recently, that's something where I can go over like almost a 2-hour mark because there's so much I have to say about all that. But just something like the Acolyte, it's incredible how much in terms of your thought process you can get out, especially for one video. It's like, save some for the next one. Like, how do you know you're not just using up all your shit here?
Because it's the Acolyte, and it can always get worse.
It
will never get better, or it'll never repeat the badness. There'll always be something new. Like, you would never have anticipated, even like the Acolyte episode 4, that in 3 or 4 episodes' time, you would be looking inside of a metaphorical penis, according to the writer of that show. And yet, that's where we ended up.
That's why I waited, because I'm like, I could make an episode or a video on pretty much all this shit I'm seeing here, no problem. But this is just keeps getting worse. I need to know how this ends, and I'm glad I waited for the soul thing. Use up all my energy for soul.
Penis?
Yeah, that's what she said. It's the shot when what's her name throws the lightsaber away, and then there's a shot where you look inside the lightsaber, which is now broken. And Leslie Headland said, yeah, we had conversations with the designer, and like we've always thought, the lightsaber is like phallic imagery. So when you're looking inside it,
you see
that
what
show was more about sex than space. It was crazy. Like, she's just insane. The shot of her looking at the, I can't remember his name, Smilo, his fucking dong. Like, she clearly looks down at it. Why they have to emphasize these details? It's so pathetic.
Yeah, back to my point. I've got Nocturne, an hour long ish, maybe. Who knows? But I've got a lot of half finished videos. Like my boys' video is half finished. My Blue Eye Samurai is half finished. So don't be surprised if it doesn't come out. I'm determined to get this one out, but I might get derailed with Snow White that comes out in 3 days.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got a pit stop for that one.
I will probably do that first and then try and fix that. But that's not a promise because I'm a liar and I can't keep scheduling.
Fair enough.
Well, who knows? Daredevil might actually do something in the next few episodes, and you can bust out a video on that. I'm kind of just waiting
hopefully
for that.
Dies.
Who knows?
Hopefully he dies.
Something interesting.
I hope he gets a Jeepers Creepers moment where he gets run over and the person backs up onto him and then runs over him again.
That's kind of how I feel about this show at this point now. So I kind of
that scene in the courtroom where he goes, "You get hit by 200,000 pounds of steel.
Oh,
your
yeah.
bones crush, your organs explode, but
you're
you
not
don't
dead until they
die."
back up.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Oh no, man! This isn't Matt Murdock. It's just some dude wearing his suit and outfit. So I feel nothing
Wearing
for
his
this.
skin.
Oh,
It's Edgar
fucking
from Men
hell.
in Black, dude.
He's
Pretty
hit by
much.
a train and he's not dead till it runs him over twice.
And Platoon, when's your Captain America video coming out?
I don't know. This week would be good. It's nearly there.
One day.
Yeah, one
one
day.
day.
It's been an absolute fucking pain in the ass, but it's nearly done. Hope might even be Wednesday. I don't know yet, but at some point this week.
And I have a When Celebrities Self-Destruct Part 2 video coming out because there was a lot tomorrow, actually. There were a lot of comments on the first video where I had left a bunch of celebrities out. So I was like, well, fuck it. I'll make a part 2. And it's I think it's knocking on the door of my longest video at a mere 30 minutes, which is just, a second channel video for a little Platoon. But it's the first channel vid for me. So and 2 more super chats did come in. Bonesaw is ready, says, "Hear me out. The MCU needs Cynic doing his impression of the Madam Web villain as their next big bad. It would make him more $1 billion. Fuck yeah, it would.
That guy's such a goof, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, when the discussion really happens for Marvel villains, I really hope people don't forget about that guy. Like he needs to be mentioned.
We will make sure he is remembered.
Oh my god,
It's a good thing you didn't know
Sean
today
Connery's
was the day
pretty
you're
good.
going to die."
it's so stupid. Oh god, I would never forget how just you can crack me up easily, but like it's not going to be that fucking difficult. But Madam Web had me like tearing up in like the opening scene for how stupid it was. Just one decision after the other, just fucking stupidity, man. That movie was incredible.
It was a fucking gold mine.
Yeah. I haven't watched it again, but I cannot wait to watch that. I need to do it with like beers and a friend.
Yes, I was. I was there. One more super chat from Taker610. Political commentator lady was trying to make a point about kings and Trump by saying Gondor had no king. Never saw the third film, No, never even knew about the fucking title.
Return of the King. Oh my god. How do you make that mistake? Just Google it. You don't have to watch the movie.
One more came in from our good friend Echo Chamberlain from a country with basically one accent. It is always amazing to me that Platoon and Reaper inhabit the same island.
Yeah, it's like a 5-hour drive.
Damn.
Yeah, like the UK, you go about 5 miles, it's a completely different accent.
Accent completely changed. I find that so fascinating. Someone who's never been there, the way it's described, you just go up the street and you have no idea what people are saying. It's crazy.
Well, whatever my original accent was ruined by the Irish. So we don't know what this city's accent was originally, but it's now this horrible monstrosity.
Oh boy. Well, everyone, that does wrap up this episode of BSUP. Big number 60. Only 40 away from 100. We'll get there in like 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I just want to thank the panel. I want to thank the chats, and thanks to everyone who sent in super chats. We really appreciate you. And thanks to our wonderful mods as well, who keep everyone in check. We appreciate you. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one, Platoon. I'll let you hit the little button.
I will do it. Doing it now.
Sound good?
Bye.